Welcome in. Happy Wednesday afternoon. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Thank you for watching. Thank you for checking us out here on Live Impact News on WCNC. Plus, I'm Nick Sturdivant. We have a busy day. But before we get to that, Carlene, how are you doing?
Hi. I'm good. I'm ready to get outside. It looks so pretty.
Thursday Eve.
Thursday
Thursday
We're
Junior.
chugging along.
Hump day.
We'll get there eventually.
We'll get there. But first, we have a lot of news to navigate. So strap up. Strap in, whatever you want to call it. Buckle up. Get ready. All of that.
Train's left the station. We're on the roll, babe.
Let's start with this. This is a pretty cool story that we want to dive into. So a local nonprofit is fighting homelessness among LGBTQ plus youth with a new direct cash assistance program. Even as it navigates the fallout from nationwide cuts to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. You probably heard of this organization, Time Out Youth here in Charlotte will distribute $200,000 in direct financial assistance this year. Julie Kay, covering all things politics.
Our girl's here.
How are you doing? In early for us.
Yes.
You got a chance to speak with Time Out Youth.
Yes.
Break down what this is and what did they have to say?
Yeah, and we've done a couple stories with Time Out Youth over the 2 years I've been here. And usually it's less positive news, so they were very excited to share this because this is actually a kind of a solution or a start to a solution. So they received a grant through just a federal program. They've tried this out in about 4 other cities so far, and so Charlotte is the 5th one, where they get this chunk of money to distribute amongst youth. And it's not like you just go, here's cash and go. You get like a debit card type of thing to go through their pre-approved, it could be for rent, it could be for a deposit, it could be for, I have an eviction on my record and I need to get that expunged so that I can have more opportunities available to me for X, Y, and Z. And so this helps with a youth homelessness problem we're already dealing with in Charlotte. Specifically, though, of course, it's an intersectional issue. LGBTQ plus youth are particularly impacted, that have a harder time, getting, foster care or being accepted by families. So this, of course, is for 18 to 24-year-olds, people that are, just kind of coming out of that phase and need some help getting on their feet for the first time, really, as an adult. And so that is why this program is particularly cool, especially coming out of, you mentioned those DEI cuts of last year. Time Out Youth, a lot of the stories I did with them before were they're facing funding cuts. And so they were struggling to get funding, struggling to meet these growing needs for this community. And this, they say, is going to be a really, really huge boost for a big problem.
Yeah, a big deal because across the board, nonprofits
Yeah.
are struggling right now. We've had nonprofits on since the beginning of last year, and they've said the same thing. Funding is tight, and their funding structure is complex. It's not like a regular company. So it's different when it comes to how they use that money and the funding.
Yeah, and they're trying to get this funding from so many different sources. There's federal grants, state grants, local grants. You want funding from the city of Charlotte, the county. But with those, not just cuts to funding in general, because it's a hard financial time on a lot of people and a lot of businesses that would typically be giving right now. But in general, it is a lot harder for nonprofits that have diversity baked into their messaging. Yeah. That is Time Out Youth's whole point, is to reach out to underrepresented communities. And so it is made it a lot harder for them to, you're not even allowed to use some of that language in these grant requests for some. It depends on the type of grant, of course, but it's become a lot more particular for nonprofits across the board, but especially for ones like this that are targeted at diversity specifically.
Julie, when can folks catch your story this evening?
4 p.m.
4 p.m. That's my show, so I'll see it. Julie K, covering all things politics. This is kind of political.
Government.
It's government. This all ties together. Everything.
Government adjacent.
Government adjacent. There you go. Julie K, thank you for stopping by the studio. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. We want to go to Washington, D.C. So happening right now, it's been happening since this morning. It looks like they just left, but we just heard from folks that were inside the U.S. Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court heard arguments this morning on President Donald Trump's push to limit the constitutional guarantee of birthright citizenship for anyone born in the U.S. who has at least one parent who is a citizen or permanent resident. Now, Trump attended the hearing. He left about an hour ago. Right. But this is a shot outside of SCOTUS.
And typically with these things, they leave a microphone out there, and if people come up, people speak to the media, and if we'll keep an eye on it. If more people come up and talk, we'll bring it back to you.
Yeah, we just missed it by seconds. But just kind of wanted to fill you in. That's sort of the big story happening right now out of Washington, D.C. So again, as Carlene mentioned, if that podium or that makeshift podium is already set up there. So as soon as we see more people speaking, we'll take you back there. Let's check in on our forecast. I got a chance to take a step outside.
How'd it feel?
It's warming up outside.
Is it too warm for
No,
Nicholas?
it's not too warm. It's not too warm. But on Wednesdays here, a lot of folks are here in the building, so parking is a little bit more scarce.
A little
So I
thin.
had to park in the back.
So
And
you had to take a walk
I had to take a little bit of a walk.
across the blacktop.
I may or may not have had a little.
Ooh,
A little,
perspiration?
a little something on my forehead.
Okay.
So, but it's warmer. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Take it. Pollen doesn't feel as thick outside.
It's not as thick. I mean, it's still there.
Yeah.
I'm still sneezing.
Don't know if I should wash my car this weekend.
That's a Brittany Van Voorhees question.
That's a Brittany Van Voorhees question. I have to teams Brittany. In the meantime, let's get our full forecast. Here's meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, it's going to be gorgeous, really, as we're heading throughout the entire day today. We're going to enjoy the most amount of sunshine for the first half of the day, and then you'll notice a little bit more cloud coverage sneaking through as we head late into the afternoon and into the evening. Right now, though, not doing too bad. 72 degrees, very comfortable out there. We're going to stay warm and a little humid today and into tomorrow. We'll hold on to that humidity through Friday, and I'm not talking about that summertime humidity, but you might just feel a little moisture in the air. As we're heading through Friday, it's going to be mild, but temperatures start to drop back down into the 70s. Scattered rain showers and a few isolated storms will be possible. And then this weekend, those rain chances, they're going to increase as we're looking at our Easter Sunday. Right now, though, we are so beautiful. We have lots of sunshine, and those temperatures are nice really all across the board. Almost 80 degrees already there in Morganton, 77 there in Lancaster. And today we're forecasting a high of 84 degrees. Our normal this time of the year, it's 69, so you can see those temperatures are well above that. Most of that sunshine, we get to enjoy it for the first half of our day, but I'd say by dinner time and just about after that, we will see a lot of cloud coverage, but staying really dry. Upper 60s to low 70-degree temperatures today up in the mountains, 71 in Blowing Rock, 73 there in Fleetwood. As we're looking towards Taylorsville, about 84 degrees today and 86 towards Maiden. Heading down to the south just a bit from the Queen City to Shelby, 84 is where we'll top off today, and 85 from Monroe to Wadesboro. So across the board, it is going to be a great day to spend some time outside. Overnight conditions will stay quiet. We'll have a little bit more cloud coverage filter in, and that'll help those temperatures from getting all that cold. I mean, tomorrow morning we'll be heading into our Thursday with temperatures into the 60s, so a really mild start to the day, setting the tone yet again for a toasty warm afternoon with temperatures climbing back into the 80s. So 2 more days in a row of 80-degree temperatures. Friday, still not bad, a high of 77 degrees, but you will notice more cloud coverage and then some scattered rain shower activity. Saturday is the day that I'm going to take advantage of. Enjoy Saturday. It's going to be picture perfect. 75 degrees for Easter Sunday. So as far as temperatures go on Sunday, it's going to be warm. Remember, rain showers move in, and then back behind it next week, those temperatures will drop down into the 60s. A little more moisture in the atmosphere, meaning that by Friday, it's going to feel a little bit sticky, and with that, it's going to help with our overall rain chances. Over the next 10 days, we do have rain chances popping up here and there, but really we're focusing on Friday, 40% chance, but by Saturday, it increases to 70. So really by Sunday, that's going to be our best bet when it comes to more impactful rain. Look at this, 83 degrees by tomorrow, Friday 77, back into the low 80s on Saturday, and then this upcoming Easter weekend, yes, all the attention will be on Sunday because of the rain. We need the rain, but it's really not the best timing. I know many people want to do stuff for your Easter Sunday. You want an Easter egg hunt, you want to head out to brunch, you're heading off to church, whatever your Sunday looks like, here's what the rain situation looks like. It's this cold front, and right now it's slowing down just a bit. So 8 o'clock Sunday morning models are showing that we could hold off just a bit. By later on Sunday, late afternoon and into the evening, there's 5 o'clock. Likely by this point, we'll start to tap into that moisture. It does spread across the the entire state of North and South Carolina between late in the day on Sunday and then into early Monday morning. We need the rain, and models are indicating that most of us will get about 1/4 of an inch of rain. Some areas getting a little bit more, so we'll take what we can get. Here's a Jury Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. 84 degrees today, 83 by tomorrow. Small drop in those temperatures on Friday, but still not a bad looking Friday. Just watch for a few scattered showers. Charlotte FC game is on Saturday with a high of 81 degrees, 75 still on Easter Sunday. Then next week, at least we get the sunshine and temperatures will be right around our seasonal average.
All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. As I mentioned earlier, as Carlene mentioned, it's warm outside. It's heating up. You know what that means. April, yes, we have Easter, but also spring break. I didn't realize my niece and nephew, they're in South Carolina. They're on spring break right now.
They already are.
Spring break.
Yeah.
A lot of folks traveling.
Yep.
They're not doing any traveling. They do enough traveling, but they're not doing any traveling during spring break. A lot of folks here in the area are doing some spring break travel. They have plans.
Sure.
And look, there have been long lines at airports across the country because of the partial government shutdown, also staffing shortages for TSA. We got a chance, and I say we, Ben and Lisa this morning got a chance to speak with Charlotte Douglas Airport's communications director, on spring break travel, also any residual impacts from the TSA staffing shortage there at the airport. Let's take a listen into that interview.
Amanda, good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, first things first, TSA agents being paid once again. That's good news there. But there, I guess, is still a partial government shutdown. So should people expect any sort of residual impacts from the shortage?
That's right. So first up, we have been incredibly fortunate throughout this process. And our average wait times are about 10 to 20 minutes. That's in large part due to the outstanding leadership of our TSA here in Charlotte and the dedicated workforce that we have. We have 600 employees locally. We do have security wait times available on our website. So you can check those in real time. You can go to cltairport.com. You can download the app. That has been something that's gotten a lot of use lately by passengers, as well as even local media like WCNC.
That's right. We certainly have been using that a lot, and glad to see those numbers being low. So we said there's going to be a surge between now and April 12th. You're going to have people flying who don't typically fly very often because of spring break. CMS on spring break last week, the largest school, this coming week, I should say, the largest school district in our area. What are going to be the busiest travel days?
That's right. So starting tomorrow, April 2nd through Sunday, April 12th, we are going to see close to 1.7 million passengers in the terminal. So it is more condensed this year. You have 8 of the large school districts all coinciding within 1 week. So CMS, York, Gaston, and others. So that's going to have that passenger volume, peak in a smaller time frame. Those busiest days to look out for are going to be tomorrow and Friday. So April 2nd, April 3rd, and then Sunday, April 12th.
And so how much time should people anticipate, considering the TSA agents are back at work, but also that we are seeing a consolidation of a lot of people traveling in the next week? How much time are you telling people to give themselves?
Yeah, so we always say to be inside the terminal 2 hours before a domestic flight and 3 hours before an international flight. So you can check the security wait times. We always say a couple of hours before your flight leaves. So you need to check that before you even get to the airport, so you can plan ahead. Just get early. You want to be there. You don't want to start your vacation stressed.
And you know what, you actually bring up a very important point. In the airport 2 hours before, because how many times have you circled or made those loops if you're looking for parking at the airport? So you definitely have to allow time for that as well.
That is right. That is right. So we always say book your parking when you book your flight, but 25,000 parking spaces are available at CLT on our property. And of those, 17,000 are online booking only. So that means you really need to book in advance, at least 3 hours before you get there. So do that ahead of time. You will secure placement in one of your preferred options. You will lock in at the best rate. We also have a royalty program you can sign up for so you can earn rewards with parking.
And while you're online checking parking, also a good idea to go ahead and check the airport's social media accounts because you guys are always quite active.
That's right. We always have something to say. So real-time updates on kind of traffic impacts and things like that. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube. But if you go there today, you might see some of our new friends, some friendly goats who are helping us with landscaping on the air side.
Oh, I noticed just a few minutes ago.
Goats. Oh.
Keep in mind the date.
Yeah.
I saw it. It's like, what?
Right.
What is this? What's happening? So anyway.
We always like to have fun. It's a fun day for us. So.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be all serious and stressful just because it's air travel. Just real quickly, because we mentioned it last week, the airport was collecting gift cards for TSA agents because of the shutdown. Can you provide a little more clarity on why the program has been concluded?
Absolutely. So yes, we were organizing a gift card drive to help our essential workers here cover food and fuel. So they really need that to be able to even get into work. There were hundreds of passengers, community members, and partners that contributed to it. And your kindness really went to support 600 local employees and their families. So we're incredibly grateful. The partial shutdown is ongoing, but we're pleased that TSA employees have started receiving some of that back pay. And there is a means in place for them to be paid while Congress goes back and forth on a DHS appropriation.
Okay, and Amanda, before we let you go, as we said, there are people who are going to be traveling over the next few days who don't do this on a regular basis and maybe haven't been to the airport in a while. What's new? What can they expect to see when they arrive at CLT?
Well, the terminal lobby expansion is officially complete. It wrapped in the fall. So if you have not traveled in a while, you absolutely will not recognize the terminal. We just launched our newest destination, CLT to Abu Dhabi nonstop, with our new airline partner, Etihad Airways. American Airlines and CLT, they launched the TSA pre-check touchless ID. You can opt in on your AA Advantage account. And family lanes. We're going to have a lot of families who are going to be traveling this spring break. If you have kids aged 12 and under, you qualify for this priority lane. So go to checkpoint 1 and they can see you there.
Ooh.
I've tried the touchless.
I was going to say, I almost don't want to talk about it too much because you can just kind of get through and touch
It was very fast.
Very fast.
All right, Amanda DeWeese, thank you as always. We appreciate you taking time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, much more ahead here on WCNC Plus.
Yeah, as they said, much more here on WCNC Plus, but on Live Impact News. But excuse me, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Servant. All right, so a new analysis from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce revealed that medical breakthroughs are helping Americans live longer and healthier lives. So earlier today, Miss Jane Monreal, my co-anchor there on the 4 o'clock news, got a chance to speak with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Let's take a listen in to that interview in case you missed it.
A new analysis from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce reveals that American medical breakthroughs are helping people live longer, healthier lives, sometimes by decades. And that means an economic ripple effect as well, all for the good. Joining us from Washington, D.C. right now here live to break it all down for us is Brad Watts from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Brad, thanks for joining us here.
Absolutely. Glad to be here with you.
So talk to me here with people living longer, 77 to 40 years longer, depending on the diagnosis. What is what's behind that kind of progress?
So what this means in very real terms is that over a 30-year period, when you treat or you mitigate 4 disease states, obesity, HIV, breast cancer, and cardiovascular, you're generating about $167 trillion in societal value. That's what this study from the Chamber found. Now, that number seems almost too big to be true, but when you think about it intuitively, when Americans are living longer, they are healthier, they're paying more in taxes, they're more productive, and when they don't have to have a caregiver leave the workforce to take care of them, when you think about the value of that per person over a 30-year period, it makes sense. And the reason why we have these critical gains is because the private sector has invested billions of dollars into medical innovation, as North Carolina knows well with its innovative life science industry.
Oh, yeah, we have a great industry here, and I just heard you are a Lejeune-born North Carolinian, so you're very familiar with the area.
I worked for Senator Tillis for a number of years as well, and so very familiar with North Carolina and the fascinating amount of investment going on in the Research Triangle.
Yeah, it really is happening, and we are definitely benefiting from that. So medical innovation, though, really changing history and bringing this economic impact. Is this sustainable?
It absolutely is sustainable if we have the right policies and procedures in place.
All right, so really fascinating interview there from this morning, Jay Monreal's interview with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. You can catch that on our digital platforms. But we want to shift focus. We want to talk about Artemis 2. This is a live picture, Artemis 2. So that launch window opens at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time today. That's a live shot at Kennedy Space Center there in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Stay with us starting at, correct me if I'm wrong, Carlene, starting at 4 o'clock?
4:30.
4:30. We have some great folks in here. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich, also Betsy Kling, and James listed off a bunch of folks, but it's going to be a great show. You don't want to miss it. We will have that live coverage for you to walk you through this big day for Artemis 2. Expected to be a big day. Again, Artemis Return to the Moon, hosted by Brad Panovich and Betsy Kling. Now, one of the astronauts on board Artemis 2, Christina Cook, is an explorer, an engineer, who became an astronaut back in 2013. Her previous experience in spaceflight was living and working on the International Space Station for most of 2019 in expeditions 59, 60, and 61. She grew up in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Cook attended NC State University in Raleigh. And speaking of NC State University in Raleigh, we have Professor John Blondin, Department of Physics and Astronomy at NC State. Professor Blondin, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
You got a chance to teach Christina. She was in your classes. For you, what is this day? Again, we're within that launch window. It starts at 6:24 p.m. today. But today, what are some of the feelings today?
I mean, overall, I've just been unbelievably impressed by her career. But today, I'm nervous. Right? She's sitting on top of an extremely large rocket that's going to take her all the way to the moon. I'm just impressed by how brave she is to do this, and I hope all goes well.
I know that's right. Yeah, a lot of nerves. I can only imagine how she's feeling, and obviously you and her family and friends. Back when she was a student at NC State, what stood out about Christina?
I mean, she was clearly a very strong student, but I think the thing that was very unique about her was she was fearless, and she would attack anything, the toughest physics or engineering problem. She would not shy away from it. She just said, give me a chance, let me figure it out. And when she came back after becoming an astronaut and would talk to other students here or school kids, it was all about facing your fears and just going out and grabbing and doing what you can.
That's a powerful message, facing your fears. I know that meant a lot for the students, but for you to hear that message, what did that do for you? What was that like?
Well, it made me realize I don't always face my fears face on, right? But I think it's a great message because it's, it's basically saying, be rational about it, think about it, and how can you accomplish what you're afraid of doing? And I think that's a great message for everyone.
Becoming a lot more real now. You can't see it, Professor Blondin, but I'm looking at the shot. Astronauts are suiting up as we speak. So you can see there, our viewers can see there as the astronauts again start to suit up. I do want to ask you again. Today is that launch window. If everything goes right, Artemis 2 will launch. Can you describe those feelings? I know you said you're nervous going into this, but have you got a chance to process how you're going to feel once it eventually lifts off?
Yeah, I mean, this is really historic, right? She's going to be the first woman to travel to the moon. The whole crew will be farther away from Earth than any humans have ever been. So it's really a landmark journey. But it's just so impressive that, this was a girl from Jackson, North Carolina, came to NC State, and she just had this vision in mind, what she wanted to accomplish. And, it shows what can happen if you put your heart to it.
One last question before I let you go, Professor Blondin. Have you got a chance to speak with Christina?
No. In fact, the last time I talked with her was when she was aboard the space station, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, she has come back to North Carolina quite a few times though since to really kind of spread that message, in particular to inspire young kids to pursue their dreams.
Well, I know one thing, North Carolina is proud. I know you are proud there. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time to speak with us. A lot of excitement and a lot of nerves for today. But again, Professor John Blondin, Department of Physics and Astronomy there at NC State. Thank you again for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right. Again, as we showed earlier, can we pull up this shot, Carlene? This is a shot of that Artemis 2 crew. They are suiting up as we speak. There again, man, an exciting day for a lot of folks, with their friends and family. Again, that launch window starts at 6:24 p.m. And so there's a lot of preparation. If all goes well, it will lift off within that window. So we will have coverage here on WCNC Plus. I know we run this animation a lot. Here you go. Artemis.
But it's so pretty.
Return to the moon. That's a really cool graphic.
I don't mind seeing it again.
That's pretty cool. I like it. Host Artemis Return to the Moon.
Brad and Betsy go on the moon.
Right. I'm like, are we sending Brad to the moon? Are we sending Betsy to the moon?
We should send Brad to the moon.
We should send Brad to the moon.
Let's get a petition going.
Well, I'm down for it.
A letter writing campaign.
I'm down for it. We'll leave you on this. This is, again, astronauts suiting up, the Artemis 2 crew suiting up there. Let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So we want to head to Columbia, South Carolina, where a South Carolina couple wrongly accused of theft who were handcuffed and held at gunpoint in front of their young children by South Carolina Highway Patrol, announcing a federal civil rights lawsuit. Let's take a listen to that.
Officer who initiated the stop, Officer Lyman, and then called for backup. And then you hear him talking to other officers about what should go from there. So countless families are going to be on the road for spring break now. And the climate has changed with swatting calls. There needs to be training. They got to know that you cannot just pull guns out arbitrarily based off a hunch and a tip, because what happens at the end of that gun is what you see this family going through today. Miss Scott is pregnant and she's emotional, rightfully so, and she doesn't want to speak. But we'll try to answer some questions. Mr. Rush will answer some if he can. I'll answer them. But just out of respect, because this is an active lawsuit that's filed, if there's some question that we can't answer or I simply have to answer them, we just ask for consideration from y'all on that.
Mr. Bailey, Derek Rush from WIS. I have a question for Mr. Rush and his daughter, if they would be willing to answer. Obviously, there's been conversations in past stories where police have performed traffic stops or even law enforcement as far as the highway patrol, where they talk about community engagement and being able to talk to officers, having these kind of relationships. You were held at gunpoint in front of your children. And I ask this question genuinely, does this impact your image, your relationship, your trust in the people that are protecting and serving these streets on a day-to-day basis because something like this happened?
Absolutely. Before this event happened, like I said, police are supposed to be people that's supposed to protect us and people that we trust. Like I said, my first instinct was to grab license and registration. Once I seen the guns drawn and how the police treated us, I mean, it's sad to say it, I hate to judge a book by its cover, but I could never really look at law enforcement the same because we just weren't treated fairly.
Yeah, I think about his sons and his daughter who saw that happen, and that's something that's going to stick with them. And law enforcement departments and a lot of departments do a great job and with community engagement, and this is an incident that sets that back with them because they have to walk through their own lives, and they're going to grow up feeling however they feel about law enforcement based off of what they saw their father and mother go through.
Mr. Rush, once you were told that you were able to get back into your car and leave, I just want to hear, what was the first thing that maybe you all spoke about when you got back inside of the car? What was going through your head?
I mean, first of all, once they opened the U-Haul, we still was in handcuffs for a period of time before they even let us get back in our car. So, I mean, basically everybody was just in shock. I mean, on the ride home, it was quiet for a period of time because we were still trying to process it, but we really just couldn't figure out why. I mean, I don't know proper police protocol. I'm not a police officer, but I would think if you got a tip or a call, why not tell the driver, throw the keys out the window. Hey, sir, do you mind if I look in the U-Haul? I just don't believe they had to go to the extremes that they had to go to without knowing who was in the vehicle or pretty much what was going on.
One follow-up question for you, Mr. Rush, and I just want to ask it objectively. Based off of everything that you have said thus far, I think I know what the answer would be, but just looking back at everything, was there anything at all that might have led troopers to be misinterpreted and make this stop and respond this way? Was there any abnormal driving patterns or anything that would have, in looking back at it, maybe prompted this at all, or just a complete heinous act for all intents and purposes?
Let me answer that. There was absolutely nothing that warranted Mr. Rush being subject to a felony stop for some alleged dirt bikes that were taken. The whole call, if you're a good officer, you should understand, it seemed bogus. And now, if he would have just stopped them, say, hey, sir, you mind, I'm officer whatever, license registration, that's normal. The issue is the felony stop. The gun's drawn, so no, he did nothing. And the reason that's even established by the Department of Public Safety, because when it seemed like they were fishing for a reason to stop him, all officers said there was no reason to give him anything, but you had to do a contact for him. No reason for a ticket, no speeding ticket, no reckless driving ticket, no failure to stop. There's no reason for him to be stopped like that.
If you had a message for the officer that pulled you over that day, what would you say to them?
Basically, in a nutshell, just do a better job. Do more due diligence. Know what's going on before you pull somebody over. I mean, you got guns drawn, you got a family of 5 with 3 minor kids in the back. Even after we exited the vehicle, they still were talking in an aggressive manner, not knowing 3 kids are in the back seat, scared for their lives. So just do a better job. I mean, maybe they need to do some more training classes and stuff like this, but I mean, this has to stop.
And Attorney, what would you like to see in terms of repercussions for the officer? Should there be any? I know, like at the 16 mark, like you were talking about in the video, he says, he asks, I don't have enough for failure to stop, and the officer says, no, it's not like he was evading. So what do you hope happens in terms
Yeah, I would like to see, I'm pretty sure they should have training and policy and procedures on felony stops. I handle these felony stop cases, these botched felony stop cases all the time, and officers, as technology changes, whether it's facial recognition technology, license plate readers, artificial intelligence, nothing replaces good old-fashioned police work. Because of repercussions of that is a people-to-people thing. And these mistakes, if you can call them mistakes, can ruin people's lives. So anytime an officer puts their hand on their gun, and I know they're trained on this, they should think about that. So I would like to see, as the department as a whole, they need to have better training on this, right? They need to say, hey, investigate a tip. There needs to be real articulated facts that warrant something. If they would stop them and ask for license registration, that's completely different. This was not that. This was a felony stop that was not observed by anybody. There's no observation. For all we know, this could have been somebody they passed on the road who got upset and called in. This guy passed me, I didn't want him to pass me, so I'm gonna call law enforcement, I'm gonna show him. Officers have to be trained on this, so that's what we want. And we're demanding accountability here, right? And for what they went through, there just needs to be full accountability. And I hope the departments would answer that call and also do what they can do to make sure other motorists on the road, families are safe this upcoming spring break or whenever else throughout the state.
There's one point in the dash cam video when you're listening to it, I believe he says it to you at one point as well, the trooper saying that this was a coincidence, I've never seen anything like this before. I just want to hear your thoughts on that now, learning that, listening to the one call from Clarendon County saying, from the one driver that called it in, saying that he couldn't get close enough to the vehicle to report the license. Just hearing your thoughts on this.
I'm sorry, if you could.
Sorry,
it was a lot. If you could just repeat the question.
Coincidence, I guess. How does that make you feel that after everything that you and your family went through, for it to be labeled as a coincidence?
One thing I'll add before that is he said that he tells Mr. Rush it was coincidence. He tells his fellow officers that the tags match exactly. He never told him that because it wasn't true. So I'll let you answer that, how you felt by the words he used, but go ahead, Ms. Rush.
I mean, basically the officer saying it is a coincidence. The type of vehicle that I drive is a very distinctive truck. It's not a regular truck. It has different wheels, a lift, and all kinds of stuff like that. But I just basically felt like the officers were basically trying to cover their tracks. But I never been put in a situation like that before, so in the back of my mind, it's not just me here. I got my whole family here, so I didn't want to say nothing, get aggressive to try to upset the officers, because that's going to be a direct reflection on my family and my kids. And then, even after all this happened, we never even got an apology. The only thing the police officers tried to do is justify why they did a felony traffic stop and pulled guns on us. Nobody ever apologized to us, so, I mean, at this point, it just is what it is.
Caitlin, but you brought up social media and how you had seen things on social media before this took place with your family. Could you just reiterate how that made you feel, having seen what you had seen on social media or anything that you had seen that made you feel even more afraid that day?
Yeah, so the things I've seen on social media was cops just pulling people over and just pulling guns on them, shooting them for no reason because they're not getting out the car or they don't want to show ID, and there was people on the side of the road even recording. So I thought it was just going to end up another story on social media, and that's it.
All right. Okay, thank you.
All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So we're what, less than about 5 hours. I was about to say less, but about 5 hours away from that launch window for Artemis 2.
Yeah, that's our countdown.
Okay,
clock.
we
So
have a clock.
just hit 5 hours.
Just hit 5 hours. We're in that 5 hour window. Man, yeah, I don't know how to feel right now because we've been building it up. We've been talking about it for a while, and
it's here.
And if all goes well, it's here. But let's take you now to some live coverage. Now, astronauts are suiting up there. You see, that is Victor Glover, first black man, first black astronaut to go into deep space. But let's take a listen into his live coverage.
A lot of information today, so please do not hesitate to reach out. Obviously, Nicole, very smart here, and we're happy to answer any of your questions. Again, tag @NASA Artemis wherever you're watching this coverage. And now we actually have a question for you. Who would you take with you on a trip around the moon? Would it be your bestie? Would it be a pet, family member, or a seasoned astronaut? Think about that one. I know.
I like that.
I absolutely know what I would say. I think it would make my husband upset, but I have my answer here. But we'd love for you to go to NASA's Instagram or Twitch accounts to vote. Again, who would you take to the moon with you? Bestie, pet, family, or seasoned astronaut? Try to go vote, and then we will share your answers soon. Again, husband is not gonna like my answer. And we're not the only ones with questions today. We will also hear from celebrities during our launch coverage. See what Stanley Tucci, Scarlett Johansson, and others want to know about NASA's Artemis II test flight. Plus, the surprise of a lifetime as kids marveled at the rocket and spacecraft rolling to the launch pad. Look at those cute faces there. Oh, I love that. Love those suits. And we'll show you how the astronauts will eat, sleep, and go to the bathroom while in space. Keep in mind, the Orion spacecraft is about the size of a 6-person tent.
Yeah. Not super big, but, you know, it's 10 days with your 3 best friends, so I think it's manageable for sure. But, you know, every ounce counts when you're trying to get to the moon.
And as we continue to look into the suit-up room here, a fist pump for some of the folks in the crowd there by Victor. Why don't we take a look around the center here? We know that there are some folks who are already getting ready to check out the team here as they drive across KSC to their launch pad. Look at that. Oh, that's so awesome.
That's a great crowd.
They're waiting there in front of the vehicle assembly building. So actually, they're just down the road from us. This is a good crowd, as Nicole said. Oh, there they are. They just got their cue. Oh, now? Let me wave now.
Oh, yeah, they are excited.
That's amazing. So all of these folks, content creators that are getting behind-the-scenes access as part of NASA's NASA social experience here. So as you can see, very excited. The crew will get into their convoy and drive past them here pretty shortly.
Yeah, what an amazing way to share the Artemis story, right? By inviting these social media experts out to share the story as they drive by.
All right, again, let's take a look at the clock. 4 hours, 58 minutes and counting from the opening of today's 2-hour launch window. So why don't we check back in with Daryl with the launch team.
Megan and Nicole, and inside Fire Room 1, I'm listening to Launch Director Charlie Blackwell-Thompson greet the Ascent crew who just came on console over there at Johnson Space Center. So good to have the Mission Control team jumping on with us. So far, the launch team here in the firing room has had a really good morning. Really smooth tanking that kicked off at 7:30 a.m. this morning. They got to all stages replenish just before 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and it was an incredibly smooth tanking. That's great as we look here watching the crew and also with an eye on the rocket. Weather, of course, we've talked a little bit about that. It's favorable overall, 80% go for our 2-hour window between 6:24 p.m. and 8:24 p.m. We don't have an exact T0 right now because that's going to come to us closer when we get closer to launch, roughly about 20 minutes before liftoff, but it's going to be within that window and towards the beginning, provided everything continues to go smoothly along the timeline, and so far that's been the case. I mentioned that there was a small issue in my previous live hit that actually was incorrect. There was no issue. I've gotten the good data now that I'm on the headset and listening into the loops. Avionics engineers are keeping an eye on a display unit inside Orion that's just running a little cooler than normal. It's not going out of limit. It's actually completely fine. But they just were noting the trend and reported that to the NASA test director. So they'll keep their eyes on that. But again, there was no LCC violation. And once they get the cover off Orion out there that's protecting it from the rain, they expect the temperatures inside the Orion crew capsule to stabilize. And with that, we'll send it back to the host desk with Megan and Nicole.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Now, Daryl is inside Firing Room 1 in the Launch Control Center, or LCC, as you might hear it referred to, which was built in 1967 to support Apollo missions. In fact, Apollo 11, the mission that landed on the moon in 1969, that was called from the exact same firing room. NASA then upgraded the LCC to support shuttle missions and now Artemis. You can see there a shot from when we supported shuttle. Now with Artemis, the primary launch team for today is in Firing Room 1, but there is actually support staff in Firing Room 2 as well. And together they will propel this ambitious test flight off Earth.
We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars. We need to go explore the moon. There's vast regions of unexplored areas with the coldest, darkest places in our solar system. This is a test mission, and when we get off the planet, we might come right back home. We might spend 3 or 4 days around Earth. We might go to the moon. That's where we want to go, but it is a test mission, and we are ready for every scenario as we ride this amazing space launch system and the Orion spacecraft.
But another reason we're going back to the moon is to fulfill NASA's mission, which is to explore the unknown in air and space, to innovate for the benefit of humanity, and to inspire the world through discovery. And when we succeed and when we accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish, that inspiration not only can set up new things to happen, but it also is a reminder in tough times that we're capable of doing great things when we work together.
The thing I love about the moon is that it's not just a beacon for exploration and this platform of possibilities for incredible missions like this, but it has benefits. That's actually why we're racing towards it. Those benefits are really wide in nature. You have everything from innovation, technology development, not only for future missions going deeper into the solar system, but technologies that come back to Earth. You have inspiration, a whole generation of people starting this pipeline of STEM workers and manufacturers and operators that are excited to see what you can do when you work hard and you come together as a team.
When I think about the 4 of us flying around the far side of the moon, seeing that Earth rise, taking images and video and sending them back to you, the feeling that I have inside is hope. We know that Artemis 2 is not the solution for humanity on planet Earth, but it is a contribution in the positive column. We hope that just for a moment that people will pause and say, wow, it's extraordinary when you look back upon the Earth with over 8 billion people, and you see this concrete example of what humanity can do, this extraordinary thing when we set big goals and we work together to achieve them.
Now, can it?
All right, so that's Artemis 2 coverage there. We'll get you back there in just a moment, but first we need to take a break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovin. A big day for the Artemis 2 crew. Look at them. They're already suited up and they are ready to go. They're having a little bit of loose time right now. They're having a good time, some high fives going around. They're getting ready.
Playing cards.
Playing cards. That's what I thought they were doing. I was like,
What else are you gonna do while you wait? I guess.
Look,
you know what I mean? Astronauts, they're just like us.
We got 4 hours, 48 minutes roughly until that launch window. So they got plenty of time. They got plenty of time. I guess my big question is, are they going to keep the suits on the entire time until the time?
They're already strapped. They're already in.
They're already in. So I guess you can't just take it off and. All right. Well, they're stuck, but in a good way. Stuck. Yeah. Good way stuck. So those are the 4 astronauts on that Artemis 2 mission, expected, hopefully, if all goes well, will lift off today. That launch window opens at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will be here on WCNC Plus, Artemis to the Moon, or Artemis Return to the Moon. You see it right there, hosted by Brad Panovich and Betsy Kling. That's a beautiful graphic. I just had to say that. Their live
Hold on,
coverage.
make it whoosh. Hold on. We start from the top. Ta-da. Wait.
That's a pretty cool graphic.
Wait.
That is a really cool graphic.
Yeah.
Artemis Return to the Moon, hosted by Brad Panovich and Betsy Kling. Coverage starts here on WCNC Plus, 4:30. But let's take you back out there to that Artemis 2 coverage. Let's take a listen in.
So the suit room is a great example of that. You've got all of the suit techs, and you've got your support team there. Everyone who has made this day possible. They've been working with the suit team for years at this point, getting ready.
So some fist bumps to the group. Again, the suit team are the folks dressed up in those white, very snazzy outfits. Special outfits that we can talk a little bit more about later. But each crew member was assigned their own suit technician. So as you said, working very closely with the same person to make sure that the crew felt comfortable and ready in these suits as they lift off from Kennedy Space Center.
Right, and each suit is slightly different, each person is slightly different, and so these suit techs know each individual super well. They know exactly how they like to get into the suit, exactly where things might get caught, or small adjustments that might need to be made. So they know their suit techs well, and their suit techs know them very well.
And so as we take a couple of pictures here, we really hope that you are learning a lot about the suits and the process of checking them out for a mission. But imagine the opportunity to get a hands-on demonstration from people who helped design these suits. Take a look.
Does anyone want to try on one of the gloves? I love showing the kids the suit. I love how excited they get about space. Oh!
So that would be...
It just goes in there? We got to bring some stuff for them to actually put their hands in, and some of them were very excited because they want to be astronauts when they grow up.
I would love to be an astronaut. That would be incredible. I'd like to be like an engineer that maybe designs the suits.
Whether it's the calm, the orange color, every aspect has an important function for our astronauts in space.
It's going to be amazing seeing astronauts up close to the moon again.
And that was a special event at Johnson Space Center. What we just saw there, obviously a big part of why this mission is so important to NASA, really just an opportunity to inspire everyone, especially kids, right, Nicole, to dream big and be curious.
Oh, man, yeah, the kids are so important, right? I love talking to kids. They are the future of spaceflight. They are the Artemis generation. And, if we could just inspire even one of them to go on to be a scientist or an engineer or maybe even an astronaut someday, that's a win.
And now let's turn our focus to the rocket for a little bit. Powering liftoff will be, again, NASA's Space Launch System rocket right behind us. And to learn more about SLS, let's go to Megan Carter, who's at Kennedy Space Center's Visitor Complex at an exhibit dedicated to Artemis and the future of spaceflight.
That's right, Megan. I am so excited to be over here at the Visitor Center, but not just because of launch. I get to introduce you to the moon board. This is obviously a very complex mission, lots of moving parts and pieces. So the moon board is going to allow me to break some of those things down for you just a little bit more in depth, starting with that SLS rocket. Now, the SLS, or the Space Launch System, very big, very powerful. It is going to be producing 8.8 million pounds of thrust at launch. And like I mentioned, mentioned, very large, as you can see here, going to stand about 322 feet tall with Orion there on top, just a little bit taller than the Statue of Liberty. Now, there are many components that make up this rocket, so I'm going to point out just a handful that you're going to hear about a lot throughout this broadcast, starting with our boosters. These two twin solid rocket boosters are going to be very powerful. They are going to burn for the first 2.5 minutes of flight, and each one is going to stand 17 stories tall. They weigh in at about 1.6 million pounds each. Now, I am going to jump back out and I'm going to show you a little bit about our core stage. That's going to be known as the backbone, essentially, of our rocket, and it is made up of around 5 components, starting with this engine section down here. This engine section is where our 2 propellants are going to be funneled down through our pipelines, and they are going to be mixed at 2 different temperatures, very complex processing, and they are then going to go on to feed that fuel to our 4 very powerful RS-25 engines. These are going to produce about 500,000 pounds of thrust each at launch, and they will burn for 8 minutes. All right, now jumping up here, we are going to take a look, because I just mentioned those propellants. Obviously, we do need fuel, and that is why we have around 535,000 gallons of that liquid hydrogen. That's approximately about the same amount that you could fill an Olympic-sized pool, just to give you an idea. And then we're also going to have that liquid oxygen, and like I mentioned, there's going to be about 200,000 gallons for that one, and they are going to be funneled down through those lines that you see here on the side. All right, jumping up real quick, this is going to be our upper stage. That is where our core avionics are going to be stored, essentially the brains of the spacecraft. And then jumping out super quick, let's see if we get.
All right, that is Artemis 2 coverage there. We'll get you back to that. But first, we need to come on with some breaking news. So according to North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, they are assisting with the Catawba County Sheriff's Office with a case that happened this morning. Take a look at this. We got a picture from the SBI. So the 911 call reported a home explosion and fire on Shook Road, which is north of Claremont. This is in Catawba County. Now, when authorities arrived, they found a home on fire with major damage. A couple with life-threatening injuries was taken to the hospital. Their 14-year-old daughter was able to escape the fire. The Catawba County Fire Marshal and ATF and the SBI are currently on scene investigating. But you can see that that house totally damaged.
Down to the bones.
Down to the bones. So we have a crew on the way to the scene. So as soon as we get there, we'll give you more information. But just to give you an idea, we have a map. This explosion, house fire took place on Shook Road. That's north of Claremont. That's in Catawba County. Looks pretty isolated from where I was trying to describe what's surrounded, but it's pretty isolated. But again, I guess the best descriptor is north of Conover and
kind of halfway between like Hickory and Statesville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But north of Claremont and north of Conover, closer to Claremont, obviously. But that is a general area of where this incident happened, this house explosion happened. But take a look at this picture again. Again, North Carolina SBI assisting with the Catawba County Sheriff's Office on this case. It's happened this morning. The 911 call came in as a reported home explosion and fire. Again, this is on Shook Road, north of Claremont. Authorities found the home, and as you can see there, with major damage. A couple now has life-threatening injuries. They're at the hospital. Their 14-year-old daughter was able to escape the fire. So you have multiple agencies out there. You have Catawba County Sheriff's Office. You also have the Fire Marshal, the ATF, and SBI on scene. We have a crew on the way to the scene. If we see their shot, we want to take you there, and we'll continue.
It's going to take a minute for them to get up here. We'll be honest.
Yeah. It's a hike from Charlotte, but we have a crew, and if we have them up, we're going to pop them up, and
we'll see them in our evening shows for sure.
For sure. And as soon as we get more information, we'll bring it to you here. We'll try to update you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We want to get back now to that breaking news in Catawba County. This is a look at the scene, a picture that North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, SBI, has sent us and has posted. So they are assisting with the Catawba County Sheriff's Office on this case. A house explosion, fire that was called in here on Shook Road in Claremont, on Shook Road, north of Claremont, as I should say. When authorities got there, they found this house heavily damaged, fire damaged. A couple with life-threatening injuries is now at the hospital. Their 14-year-old daughter was able to escape the fire. The Catawba County Sheriff's Office, Fire Marshal, ATF, and SBI are on scene, and they are investigating. We do have a crew on the way to the scene. Bear with us, bear with them. It's going to take a while for them to get there, but again, we do have a crew on the scene. We will continue to update you on this incident, on this house explosion there in Catawba County. All right, let's shift gears and let's go back to Artemis II coverage. A big day there, not only for the nation, not only for, I should say, Cape Canaveral, Florida, Kennedy Space Center, NASA, but for the nation. All eyes on Artemis II, that mission toward the moon. Let's take a listen into this live coverage.
Pretty decent entertainment planned. So
I love that. It gets them in the headspace, the right headspace to really just enjoy the ride to space. NASA's history with Airstream dates back to the 60s when the company created a crew quarantine vehicle for when astronauts returned from the moon. This picture here, President Nixon talking to the Apollo 11 astronauts inside said quarantine vehicle. Then during the shuttle program, Airstream created the first generation Astrovan, a 27-foot motorhome that transported astronauts across KSC to their launch pad. And again, that is what we're going to see today. A very similar picture. Again, the orange suits, the Astrovan, very reminiscent of what we have done before and how we got to where we are now.
Yeah, and it's a pretty cool ride. You know, you get about 20 minutes to get out to the launch pad and watch a movie, listen to some music. It's kind of an interesting, and then along the whole way here at KSC, all of the employees from Kennedy Space Center come out. You can see in the background of the shot you're looking at right now, all of those employees and everybody lining the streets, waving and wishing them luck.
I think this is an emotional moment for a lot of people because this is the last time where a lot of people will be with the crew, because once they get to the pad, there's only a handful of folks with them before launch.
Yeah, definitely. This can be emotional for the crew, can be emotional for the families, of course. I mean, I got to wave goodbye one last time to my sister, and when we walked out those doors, and it's surreal. It starts to become much more real the closer and closer you get to the launch pad.
20 seconds now from when we expect the crew to walk out those doors. It must be really hard for them to patiently wait for these very specific milestones.
You've got a whole group back there that's telling jokes and keeping it light. So.
And here they are, NASA's Artemis II crew. Commander Reed Weissman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen taking their first steps outside for their historic test flight. To a wonderful applause from the crowd. They're looking really excited.
Some
and
big
really
smiles.
Ready.
I love that.
Out here. It's a great day for us. It's a great day for this team.
A few words from Reed. Great day for us, the team, he said. Thumbs up, more thumbs up. Of course, a lot of pictures. We hear some camera shutter clicks back there. I love the energy of this crowd. Let's go. And so now the crew walking over to each of their pens. The first people closest to them, of course, their family members who got to quarantine with them, correct?
Yes. Yeah, so the ones that are close and waving, those are the immediate family, so spouses, partners, kids.
And we're trying to give them some privacy so that they can have their conversations with their family members. Christina there, she has her husband. Victor has 4 daughters and his wife, they're there. Reed, his 2 daughters are there. And then Jeremy, his wife, 2 daughters and a son. You know, when you were standing in their shoes, Nicole, when you flew for Crew 10, what were you kind of talking about? Like, did you really think about this moment and what you might want to say?
You know, they've all already done their real goodbyes, you know, in person. And so this is more just kind of, again, that last chance to wave, last chance to get one smile. You know, you see Christina there smiling. So this felt much less heavy and just, you know, waving and maybe cracking a joke or something, saying hi. So this was a really, really great moment for our crew.
Reed's 2 daughters there. Reed spoke about when he told them that he was selected to be the Artemis II commander. And he said he was worried. He's a single dad, didn't know how they would react. And actually, he said he was overwhelmed by their support. He woke up the next morning with cupcakes baked by one of the daughters, moon cupcakes.
Yes, I love this story. Moon cupcakes the next morning. Like, how awesome is that, right? Everybody needs their support system, and clearly he has that in his daughters.
Christina said she took a bike ride with her husband and wanted to tell him when the moon rose, but that it was too foggy. But she said he was still very excited and happy for her.
Yeah, the moon's still out there.
A close-up now of, again, Commander Reed Wiseman and Mission Specialist Christina Cook. To the right of your screen, as we pan left, we have pilot Victor Glover. Victor told his wife, and they told their 4 kids together, and he said that one of them just started yelling, "Let's go!"
Yes, I love that. Again, the support from the family is awesome.
And Jeremy said his wife and 3 children, super excited. He felt very supported. You know, he did have that tough conversation, obviously, of talking about the realities of this being a test flight, but he said they were super supportive. And now as he walks away, some kisses from Victor Glover to his family, hearts to Christina. Jeremy being a gentleman, pausing so that Christina can take a nice photo without him. Hearts, too, from Reed there. Hearing Victor saying, "Love you guys." Saying that to some of his crew members there. Woody. Some more applause from the group.
Quick wave to some of the NASA program managers, and I think Norm Knight's out there, the FOD Flight Operations Director.
You heard Reed there saying, "Thank you guys," as the crowd picks up again with their applause, and the 4 of them step into their Astroband. Looking at the clock, very on schedule right now. Again, according to the very detailed timeline of launch today, they are expected to drive off in about 20 seconds.
So far, we're marching toward the launch smoothly.
Do you think they're queuing up the video?
Definitely.
And that's why they haven't left yet? They're like, we can't go without
Gotta get
our
your
point
snacks and movie
break.
ready.
Yeah. Where's the popcorn? Again, good on the timeline. Of course, they do have these very specific milestones, but this is not one that has to be completely stuck to the second and the minute.
Yeah, we will make up that time easily.
They will get a full security escorted ride out to the launch pad. It's a quick trip, 15, 20 minutes.
That's all you can see.
The closeout crew at the pad still just getting everything ready for their arrival. Configuring Orion, right, Nicole?
Yes, so they're probably laying out the seat restraints and getting all of the umbilicals set and ready to go so that when the crew gets there, they can ingress and start getting strapped in and connected to the capsule.
And in our smaller box there, we have a shot of our administrator, Jared Isaacman, bouncing around quite a lot today. Was in the firing room right after the crew weather brief, saying to the crew that they are good for them to start suiting up, and now here to wish them well as they drive out to the pad.
Yes, he's so invested in this mission. I love it. You know, he's been an active participant today, and exciting to see him there at the walkout. So in the van, they're probably getting hooked up to the portable cooling systems as well. So that would be my guess on the slight delay here, making sure everybody's situated, connected to cooling, and ready to go before they take off.
Right, because the orange boxes, we didn't talk about it when we were in the suit-up room, but if anybody noticed, there are these orange boxes, and that's what provides the cooling to those thermal garments. And so those boxes have been staged inside of the Astrovan so that once they got there, they can connect up again so that they're cool and comfortable on the way out.
Right, so they were off cooling from the walkout, you know, said hello to their families and the 80-degree weather here in Florida today. So it can get really warm in the suit quickly if you're not careful. So we want to make sure everybody's comfortable before we drive off.
And then when they get to the pad, of course, and strapped into Orion, then they don't have any need for those cooling boxes anymore. They will get that cooling through Orion, through the different lines and umbilicals that they'll be connecting to there.
Yep, that's exactly right. The Orion capsule and its environmental control system will take over once they're connected to the umbilical.
And so when we were watching them get into the elevator, I said, oh, there's a couple more people going in there. And they were, again, those folks in the white suits that we saw. Again, suit technicians.
Yep. And there they go.
And off they go. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy now on their way to launch pad 39B, where they will fly to the moon, something no human has done in over 50 years. They may also set a new record as the farthest humans have ever been from Earth, a record set by the Apollo 13 crew almost 56 years ago today. We still hear cheers as they drive away from the operations and checkout building here at Kennedy Space Center. Now, while the crew make their way to the pad, let's get to know each of them even better. First, Commander Reed Wiseman.
The moon, to me, it's the thing that connects me together with all the other humans in my life. I remember being a little kid lying in bed at night and just looking out at the moon in whatever phase it was in, and I was thinking, man, my friends that live like 20 miles away, they can probably look out and see that same exact moon. And then when I was in the Navy and I would look out at the moon and I'd be halfway around the planet, I would think, man, my brother can see that moon where he is, and he's halfway around the planet from where I am. To me, it's a connection of life on Earth. We can all look up and see that moon, and it's always changing. The moon is never the same 2 days in a row. I love that. My name is Reed Wiseman. I'm the commander of NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. I grew up in a little town just north of Baltimore, Maryland, about 20 miles north of the city. There was a National Guard base nearby my house, and there were A-10 aircraft that would fly over every now and then. I just would look up at them and be like, man, I want to be up.
All right, so you are watching Artemis II coverage there. We'll get back to that, but we want to come back home. All right, so today the daughter of former Charlotte City Council member Tijuana Brown pleaded guilty in a federal fraud case involving COVID-19 relief money. Prosecutors say the scheme involved multiple family members and fraudulent loan applications. WCNC Charlotte's Anna King was in court today for that hearing. Anna, just walk us through what happened in court today.
That's right. I was, like you said, she pled guilty today to wire fraud and conspiracy involving those COVID-19 relief funds. So she and her mother and her sister submitted fraudulent PPP and EIDL loan applications using fake tax documents, according to prosecutors, and claimed non-existent employees obtaining over $124,000. Prosecutors also say that some of that money, to paint the picture, was spent on personal expenses, including a $15,000 birthday party for Tijuana Brown. So now she is awaiting sentencing and has also requested a pre-sentence interview, but no date has been set yet on when that hearing will be.
All right. Again, Anna King in court today, federal court. You can catch Anna at 5 and 6 o'clock this evening. Anna, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Let's get a check of our forecast. Here's meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, good Wednesday afternoon. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm. We have another very nice day, sunny and warm with afternoon highs climbing back into the 80s today and tomorrow. I will say it's mainly sunny outside right now, but you will notice increasing cloud coverage as we head into the later half of the afternoon and into the evening. For your Friday, if you're making any plans, temperatures will drop into the upper 70s, but we will have more opportunity for scattered showers and an isolated thunderstorm or two, and then rain chances, they are increasing for Easter Sunday. We'll talk about that, but let's talk about the good stuff still. 77 degrees for a forecasted high yesterday. That's where we actually got to. 84 is what we're forecasting today, so we're turning up the heat, not just today, but tomorrow as well. Today's April Fool's, and this forecast is not messing around. It is going to be a warm one with afternoon highs into the 80s. Notice more cloud coverage, though, and those clouds overnight will help us from getting too chilly into the overnight hour, so it stays rather mild. Even if you're up in the mountains, plan for upper 60s, low to mid 70s. 74 degrees this afternoon there in Boone, 84 in Hickory and Taylorsville, 85 as we're looking towards Maiden, and then from Gastonia to Concord, 84 with plenty of sunshine there in Albemarle, 85 from Lancaster over towards Wadesboro. Today we all get to enjoy those above average temperatures. It just feels nice. It is gorgeous. And and overnight lows tonight only drop down into the 60s. So waking up tomorrow morning, you won't need a big heavy jacket. I mean, waking up into the 60s, that is setting the tone for another warm day with highs into the 80s. We're holding on to the 80s for the next 2 days. We'll drop down into the 70s on Friday, pop back into the low 80s on Saturday. Easter Sunday, we have mid 70s on the way, and then next week temperatures start to fall into the 60s. You'll notice a little bit of humidity out there. Not that summertime humidity, but there will be some moisture in the air, especially on Friday. A bit noticeable, I would say, but that's going to help trigger some scattered rain showers. Now, while the rain may be a little inconvenient for Sunday, for Easter, boy, we've been talking about how badly we need that rain, and honestly, a good washing of rain could be nice when it comes to all that pollen, all of that yellow still outside. Futurecast looks like this about 5 o'clock tonight. Most of us staying dry, about a 20% chance for an isolated shower. Tomorrow for Thursday, it is going to be beautiful. Maybe a little cloud coverage to get us started, but then plenty of sunshine and temperatures. Well, we're heading back into the 80s. Friday's the cooler day, and then we'll have some scattered shower activity as well, and a few isolated storms, mainly in the evening time hours. Saturday's going to be gorgeous, heading back into the 80s. Easter weekend, do you have plans? Maybe you're heading off to church or brunch or an Easter egg hunt. Now, Saturday is going to be great, but Sunday, we're watching this front here that is going to bring us some rain opportunity. And here's the thing, not all the models are agreeing on the time. This one's showing that it's going to hold off a little bit later, so stay close to our weather team because we're really fine-tuning the timing of that incoming rain that we know we're going to get on Sunday. Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast looks like this. It's the first day of April. We should be into the upper 60s. That would be a normal April day, but instead the next 2 days we're heading into the 80s. 84 degrees today, 83 by tomorrow. Still not a bad looking Friday. Maybe just keep the umbrella handy. Charlotte FC game on Saturday. Really nice conditions for that. A high of 81 with, again, plenty of sunshine. Easter Sunday, at least it's not cold, and hey, we need that rain. Hope you have a great day and get outside and enjoy the beautiful Wednesday we have.
A warm day here. All right, let's head to another warm location. It's Florida, Cape Canaveral, Florida. Let's take you back to that live coverage there. Artemis 2 mission crew, that live coverage. Countdown, Artemis 2. You see it right there. All right, let's take a listen to it.
Vastness of the universe and how much out there was to learn. I'm drawn to exploring. I'm drawn to challenges that involve both mental and physical, and I'd much rather be solving problems wearing a whole lot of equipment and in a harsh environment, and that's just something I've carried with me ever since I was a kid. Thinking about the fears or challenges that I've had to overcome, there are just so many. I mean, basically, it's just been, that has been the journey. I always say to people, do what scares you. And that means I have to follow my own advice. So doing what scares me meant getting on a plane and going to the Antarctic, getting on a plane and going to study abroad in Ghana, applying to become an astronaut, opening the EVA hatch in the airlock and going out of it into the darkness, strapping myself onto a rocket. And so for me, I think that no matter what the challenge, recognizing that if people believe in you and you believe they believe in you, the challenges seem always a little bit easier. To me, the moon, it represents history. It is a witness plate. Everything that's ever happened to the moon is still written on the moon. Every single person has looked at the moon their entire lives. We see the same moon. That's something really special. It's just the epitome of a symbol of something that's in each of our hearts, but that's also represents exploration and reaching.
And as we continue to watch the convoy, almost at the pad, mission specialist and first-time flyer, Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen.
I have this very distinct memory of seeing an image of an astronaut standing on the moon. It's burnt in my brain because I went back to it so many times in my childhood, and I would look at that image, and I know it had a huge impact on me that humans had walked on the moon. My name is Colonel Jeremy Hansen. I'm an astronaut with the Canadian Space Agency, and I'm a mission specialist on NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. My elementary school years, I grew up on a farm outside of London, Ontario. I spent as much time as I could with my dad on the farm. I learned the value of hard work, for example. If I wanted to go to work with Dad, it was going to be a long day, and I was going to
We want to come back out here to breaking news. We are keeping our eye on, and we have a crew there. This is a look at the scene, a homicide investigation in the North Tryon Division. So, all right, so here's what CMPD has told us. So, detectives within CMPD homicide unit are conducting a homicide investigation in the 6900 block of the plaza. Again, this is a live look there at the scene. That's all we have as far as details, but it looks like CMPD is there near a residence, near a home there along the plaza. Again, this is a live look at the scene. Now, here is a map just to kind of give you a general area where we are. Again, this is along the plaza here, which is a busy stretch here. In Charlotte.
Long road, too.
A long road, too. So, again, just to narrow it down, this is the general area. You see where that red dot is, that red marker is, that's where this scene is. I believe that's Ferndale Plaza that is near.
East W.T. Harris Boulevard.
Okay, there you go.
Is your other major road.
Which is, it almost intersects there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is the general location there for where this scene is. Again, very big, East W.T. Harris Boulevard, the plaza, two very busy roadways here in Charlotte, East Charlotte. All right, so again, back out here on the scene, investigators are there at what appears to be a house. I say appears because it looks like a house that, again, still trying to sort out things. We have a crew there. We have Bria Smith, also a photojournalist there, gathering information as we speak. And as soon as we get more information, I promise you, we will update you here on WCNC Plus Live Impact News. Again, a homicide investigation there along the plaza. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We want to get to some more breaking news this time in Detroit. Take a look at this. This is the aftermath. This is a live look at the scene. Crews putting out a massive fire at a building on Wayne State University's campus. Right now, no injuries reported according to officials. I'm reading this article from WDIV, Local 4 there in Detroit. So crews, I want to read what's on their website. Crews put out a fire at a building on Wayne State University's campus this afternoon. You can see there, this is a tower camera there, courtesy of Local 4's tower camera. Again, they captured, and I was looking at video earlier, captured video of a lot of that smoke just coming out of that building there on Woodward Avenue, 5057 Woodward Avenue, if you're familiar with the area. Now that building has been evacuated. I'm just kind of scrolling down. City of Detroit officials said no reported injuries. The university officials said the fire was confined to the building's 11th floor, which housed graduate school offices and the Department of African American Studies. And I believe this is the Maccabees building, if I'm saying this correctly, the Maccabees building there on campus where that fire broke out. And it was actually added to the National Register of Historic Places back in 1983. So a very historic building there in Detroit. But again, that is a look at the scene. You still see emergency crews to your bottom right there. And you still see that a little bit of that damage. If you look up towards that Wayne State sign to your left, you see that damage, that fire again on the 11th floor there at that building. Here's the video. Carlene pulled this up. Again, this is that video from moments ago of that smoke pouring out of that building, and see where that fire was. Yeah, a lot of smoke there. Scary scene there from earlier, but officials there in Detroit say no reported injuries. So we'll continue to keep you updated as this situation evolves, but it looks like that fire is out and seemingly everybody is okay. All right, big day. Shifting gears, big day. We want to head back to Cape Canaveral, Florida. Today, we're closing. We're about 4 hours away from that launch window for Artemis 2. We've been dipping in and out of that live coverage. We'll take you back there to that live coverage, Artemis 2.
Artemis 1 launched in November 2022. Today, they have a message for Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy.
Today, you carry the work of thousands and the hopes of millions. Every test, every simulation, every long day and night have led to this moment. This team is ready. The vehicle is ready, and you are ready. From the ground to the moon, Godspeed, Artemis 2!
I love that. I just love seeing all of the people who have contributed to this mission, and the fact that this is what they've been working for, and now it's culminating today.
Yeah, thousands of people have worked on this mission, and we saw there from the launch team. But human spaceflight is like the ultimate team sport, is what I like to say, and that's just a great example of our team wishing our astronauts good luck.
That shot there that we were just looking at was aimed at the elevator doors, again, to catch the astronauts as they make their way up to the 274-foot level of the mobile launcher. The mobile launcher is the structure you see there. It is not only a way for the crew to obviously access Orion, but also provides the fuels, communications, all that to the rocket. And now we're watching the crew walk across the crew access arm, getting a beautiful view of Kennedy Space Center.
From 274 feet. Woo.
Nicole laughs because Nicole...
All right, so we want to get you back now to that breaking news, homicide investigation along the plaza. We are hearing from CMPD. Let's take a listen in to what's being said.
Not quite. No, not quite yet.
All right, so we are still waiting. That's CMPD there on scene. They're about to speak, but again, homicide investigation there in East Charlotte along the plaza. Let's take a listen in.
Shortly after noon today, detectives with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department responded out to the residents behind me in the 6900 block of the plaza. Once they were inside, they did locate an individual who was deceased. At this time, we are conducting a death investigation. Give you a little backstory. Last night, shortly after 8 o'clock, officers in the University City Division responded to a call for service about a missing person. We took that report over during the overnight hours, who we believe the victim's family came to the residence overnight. Officers came out, searched the residence at that time, did not locate the individual. Missing person detectives came out about noon today in the daylight and did locate an individual who, and he is deceased. With us right now are homicide detectives, missing persons detectives, crime scene, and North Tryon Division officers who are all working collectively on this investigation. As we move through the day, we should have a better idea of whether this is a homicide or continues to be a death investigation. But we ask anybody with information to please call Crime Stoppers at 704-334-1600. You can also call and speak directly to our homicide detective in charge of this investigation at 704-432-TIPS. Again, 704-432-TIPS. I'll answer a few questions if you have any.
So as of now, it seems like no threat to the community. Is that fair to say?
I would think so, yeah. We've located an individual deceased inside, and at that point, that's all we have right now.
For clarity, sorry, was it a wellness check that was conducted, or?
Initially, it was a missing persons call for service. Then we did a attempt to locate in the overnight hours, and then through the use of technology, we were able to determine that the victim's phone was in this vicinity, which brought officers as well as the family back out to do a more thorough search inside the residence, where we did locate him inside.
Now, I know you said there's no real threat to the community, but yesterday in Uptown there was a shooting. Earlier this morning there was another shooting. How are you all as a team really just trying to reassure the community's safety despite the amount of incidents that are happening over the past 2 days?
Yeah, anytime I speak with the media, I encourage all of our community members to work on de-escalating those situations. Do not immediately resort to gunfire. Once you pull that trigger, that has lifelong consequences. Think about it for a minute and really work to de-escalate those situations because they can have dire consequences.
And we saw the one this morning involved teenagers, I believe, a 15-year-old victim, and the one this morning. Let's talk about just some warnings to parents tonight as well for the juvenile crime aspect of this.
Yeah, that's again, similar to that. I mean, we have kids now that immediately escalate problems or situations or beefs or grievances, and they pull out firearms to settle those conflicts. Never a good idea. Anger and firearms do not mix. So,
just to clarify, when they came out with the missing persons report, they just looked around the outside of the house. They didn't go in the house at first?
Correct. And then this was our third time out here. The early overnight hours, we went inside the residence, did not locate him, did a more thorough search, and did find him.
Did the victim have any signs of foul play, any wounds or anything?
Yeah, that's why at this point, that's why it's just a death investigation. We're not exactly sure. Once crime scene gets in there and does a thorough, taking overall pictures and things like that, once we work through that investigative component, we should have a better idea of whether or not there is signs of trauma or what have you to the victim.
And just to clarify, the victim did live here or was just located here?
We don't know. We don't know who the victim is right now. We believe it's the gentleman who lives here by himself, but until we get a little bit further, a couple more hours, I'm confident our public affairs will share that information with you in a press release in terms of whether it's a homicide, who the victim is, and things like that. But all signs do indicate that it is the gentleman that resides here. Okay, thank you all very much.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
good day.
You too.
All right, so we just heard from TMPD regarding now they clarified death investigation along the plaza linked to a missing persons case. They've also still some questions and some details that they're working to fill in. But again, a death investigation along the plaza linked to a missing persons case. They also spoke to other recent homicide cases. But again, that's what we got there from TMPD. Let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We want to update you on breaking news. So we showed you the picture earlier. Here's a live picture. Our crew there on the scene there in Catawba County, Shook Road, just north of Claremont. Again, here's what the Catawba County Sheriff's Office has posted. Explosion at residence leads to criminal investigation. All right, so here's what they have. Multiple Catawba County Fire Departments, along with emergency medical services, responded to a report of an explosion at a home on the 4,000 block of Shook Road. When responders arrived, they found the home on fire, fully consumed. Two of the homes, two of the people living there were injured, one severely injured. Catawba County's fire marshal requested the Catawba County Sheriff's Office to initiate a criminal investigation. Now, the sheriff's investigators have since gotten information concerning the possibility of explosive material from inside this home. That's a new development in this case that we've gotten. So sheriff's investigators have requested the assistance of the SBI to assist again with this investigation. SBI agents are on scene right now with the sheriff's office along with the fire marshal's office there in Catawba County. A search is underway to figure out what exactly happened, to either corroborate or refute the allegations concerning the involvement of explosive materials in this incident. So the newest development in this case, again, investigators obtaining information concerning the possibility of explosive materials inside the home here that you see that's heavily damaged, a shell of what it was. And now that search is underway by investigators to either corroborate or refute those allegations concerning those explosive materials that possibly were involved in this incident. So again, that is a live look at the scene there. Our crew got there. Again, we were promised to update you as soon as we got more information here in Catawba County. We'll continue to keep you updated on the very latest there. All right. Big day. We've been talking about it. Artemis 2. We are about a little under 4 hours within that launch window for Artemis 2. You see there, we've been keeping up with it. 3 hours, 52 minutes, 19, 18. Okay, I could count on, but I'm not. Let's take you back now to Artemis 2 live coverage. Countdown to Artemis 2. Let's take a listen to that.
So again, it's just hard to really get a sense of the inside there, but Nicole is going to really help walk us through that.
Yeah, you said they're on their backs, and you have to somehow get there, and so they're actually going to almost barrel roll onto their shoulder to get onto their backs and their feet up on those leg rests. Actually, Andre's holding onto right there. You can see Andre number 2's inside getting everything ready for them. And actually, those leg rests for the pilot and commander seat will come off once they get into orbit to create some more space for them.
And it looks like we're getting ready to ingress here. Yep, thumbs up from Reed. Everybody configured with their suits, and so in we go. They actually get inside by walking backwards. That's the easiest way to get in, right, Nicole?
Yeah, so he will step down right over the flywheel or the exercise equipment that they've got in there. We'll talk to that in a second. And then you actually step down right on top of the toilet area backwards. You can see him going now. Oh, and he's already turned around and walking in. You can see Dre's protecting his helmet and his visor there from all that metal.
Yeah.
It's a tight squeeze. But they've done this a lot, so Reed's already all the way across the capsule.
Yeah, that was fast. Impressive, Reed. Impressive. That's why you're the commander. Oh, a heart there from Jeremy again. Yep, Canada.
Yeah.
Canada is about to get into Orion. And so you mentioned Dre. Why don't we talk a little bit about him? So that was NASA astronaut Andre Douglas. And he is actually one of the backup crew members for the Artemis 2 mission. He trained alongside the primary crew and will step in if any of the 3 astronauts are unable to fly.
Yeah, Dre's actually a classmate of mine, so fellow fly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we've worked very closely together. It's exciting to see him in this role.
Yeah, Virginia native, selected as an astronaut candidate in December 2021. He completed his training in March 2024 and was subsequently named as the Artemis 2 backup crew member just months later in July. Before joining NASA, Andre worked at the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, where he specialized in spacecraft systems engineering. His work focused on the systems that help spacecraft know where they are and how to get where they need to go. So obviously critical for missions to the moon.
Yeah, he's a wicked smart guy. He's got like 15 degrees, I think, or something.
Oh, my.
So.
And so now here we are back inside Orion, where the closeout crew, each one with either Reed or Jeremy. So it looks like Andre is with Reed. And this is a camera shot of behind Reed's head. So Reed, while Andre is buckling him in, that's a 5-point harness, Reed was configuring his control panel.
Yeah, the displays. We're getting the displays ready so that they can monitor all of the systems and monitor the launch as they go. Christina there signing the wall.
Got to put away the pen. The pen could be foreign object debris or FOD, which is bad for NASA. We definitely want to make sure that we keep track of everything and we know where everything is, because the smallest thing could prevent us from launching or affect the equipment out there.
Yeah, and you'll actually see that most of their tools will be tethered as well, so nothing can fall through a crack or drop.
And so as soon as Jeremy and Reed are good to go in their seats and connected to their communication umbilicals, as Daryl had said before, we will start hearing the loops, the audio mission loops, specifically Orion to Earth 1, which is the communication loop that the crew communicate on to the different teams supporting launch today. And as we said when we were in suit up, after they do communication checks, again, suit leak checks to make sure that nothing went wrong between the suit up room and here, and also to specifically connect them to the Orion systems.
Yes, this will be an integrated test with Orion and the suits to make sure the entire system is working and ready for flight.
And so you'll notice Reed and when Victor sits down, Reed and Victor are the only ones with the display panels in front of them. Jeremy and Christina will actually share a personal computer device, and that will be on Jeremy's leg, and that's how they'll continue to follow along with telemetry and data.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. This is one of the technology demos that we're doing, and so they're going to plug into the system, and it'll be a screen repeater on that that device for them, so that they can see what the pilot and commander are seeing.
OTC ask, MS2 is online for context.
This is OTC. Repeat.
MS2 ready for com checks.
The MS2 ready for com checks. MS2, OTC Orion Earth 1, com check.
OTC, it's MS2. Have you loud and clear on 1.
You're welcome, sir.
And so that was the Orion test conductor speaking with Jeremy Hansen, again, mission specialist 2 for this mission. So his communication check over, you heard him say 1, Orion to Earth 1, has been completed, a successful test. The rest of the crew here waiting in the white room. Again, as Nicole was saying, a little tight there for all of those folks. So Christina and Victor will wait until Reed and Jeremy are done getting buckled in.
Yeah, I think 4 astronauts and 4 suit techs would be a tight fit in that capsule.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at Bill. He's number 3 there, that the suit technician there. He is kneeling where Christina will be in order to get Jeremy situated.
OTC ask, commander's ready for com checks.
OTC copies. Commander.
NTD, MISCO 212 com check.
NTD, have you loud and clear here as well.
I'll catch FTS on 194, thank you.
Commander, OTC Orion Earth 1.
OTC, CDR has you loud and clear.
Good comm. Welcome, sir.
And there you have it, a successful comm check with Commander Reed Wiseman. And so...
And CDR, NTD on Orion Earth 1 for comm check.
This is Gary Bush. I got you loud and clear, NTD.
And good to have you on board. Good luck today.
And so now these 2 closeout crew members will finish up what they're doing here. Again, Nicole, walk us through what is happening here. They're connecting umbilicals, is what we said.
Yeah, they're strapping them in, so they're getting their restraints connected. It's a 5-point harness with a quick release, and then they're connecting the umbilical, which has 3 different, actually 4 different connections. So it's got the air in, air out, the water for cooling, and then the comm as well, the communication cable. So they're going to make sure that all of those connections are good to go, make sure the crew's receiving the cooling and the air, and then we heard the comm check as well. So they're just making sure the umbilical connection was good to go, getting them strapped in and ready, and then they will move on to Victor and Christina.
And so while we wait for that to happen, why don't we get another check of the launch countdown milestones with Daryl and the launch team?
All right, welcome back into the firing room 1 here, where some of the launch team is having some pizza that was brought by the administrator. That was nice of Administrator Jared Isaacman to bring that by for the launch team to enjoy. We're L-minus 3 hours and 44 minutes and counting as you can see the crew ingressing into the spacecraft. There are a number of things that are happening on the timeline. Of course, the closeout crew, they liken themselves to like an F1 pit crew, working quickly, methodically, carefully, as they go through their procedures to get the astronauts ingressed. Overall, there's a little bit of timeline pressure, right? There's only a certain amount of time, as you see the astronauts going into Orion, only a certain amount of time that they can spend on their backs. They will be there for a few hours, right? So we're sitting at 2:40 p.m. Eastern Time, and the window opens at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time and runs until 8:24 p.m. Eastern Time. So 4 or 5 hours or more on their backs, and then they'll hopefully lift off for a launch. So, of course, the crew is mindful of the time. They don't want to slip into the window if they don't have to, and so they're keeping a tight lock on the margin, the amount of time that they're working there. And there's a heart from Christina Cook. Great to see that as she gets ready to get into the Orion spacecraft, one that they named Integrity. It certainly fits this crew from what I've observed. Now, right now, the rocket's tanks, they're in what's called replenish mode. So another factor for this closeout crew is, and the crew themselves, this is a fully tanked, almost ready to go rocket. It's got all the propellant it needs to go to the moon. It's just a matter of getting the astronauts in, getting them configured, and getting all the systems, the high energy systems, bringing them all online in order to launch this rocket. As they sit there, there is propellant boil off that's happening. All tanks are at 100%, but the propellant, which is liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen, those two propellants are minus 423 for hydrogen and minus 297 for the liquid oxygen. They are boiling right now. They've been boiling the entire time when they've been in the tank. And that is vented out, as you can see. When we look to a wider shot of the rocket, you can see the venting and the little wisp of clouds that are coming out from the top of the rocket and the middle part of the rocket. And that is because just like you boil water on your stove, those propellants are boiling. Of course, their boiling point is much lower than water, and so it doesn't take much for them to boil. But just as if you were to leave your pot of water on the stove and just leave it there, what would happen? Well, it would completely boil off, and all the water would be gone. Basically turned into water vapor inside your house. Well, it's the same case here. So we are continually replenishing the rocket with propellant, liquid hydrogen and oxygen, running from those propellant lines that you see there going into the rocket. So that continues to go well. Overall look from the launch team here, this has been a very smooth countdown so far. The cryo tanking went exceptionally well, and the launch team is really in a good mood right now. Cautiously optimistic, understanding that with a system this complex, you can have something unexpected happen. But to this point, the firing room is really encouraged by what they've seen so far, and are especially excited to see these astronauts getting inside the spacecraft. L-minus 3 hours and 40 minutes and counting until we open up that window for launch. For now, we'll send it back to Megan and Nicole.
Thank you, Daryl. And, he mentioned that the crew decided to name Orion Integrity, and it was not something they came to easily. They really wanted to put in a lot of thought, and what they came down to is integrity is a value that NASA embodies, and also individually they felt like integrity is something that speaks powerfully to them.
Yeah, and I think the other part of integrity, it just represents the humility and the professionalism behind the entire team that built this rocket and got us here today. And so it's a fitting name for this capsule.
Yeah, like I said, I think the crew said it took them a little bit to decide on what they wanted, but I think they made the perfect choice.
I agree.
And so as the countdown to launch continues, we are reminded that this is an agency-wide effort to make today's launch attempt possible. We invited people across our NASA family to wish our crew a safe journey.
Go Team Artemis! Go Team Artemis!
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Have a great flight. Godspeed. We'll get you around the moon and home.
If I had a message for the crew, be safe, to have fun, to remember that we're all down here rooting for them.
I want to wish my friend and former student, Victor Glover, and the entire Artemis team best wishes and a successful flight.
Have fun. Take some really cool pictures. Can't wait to see you when you get back.
From the Earth to Sky team connecting NASA science to public lands, go Artemis.
We will see you in the Pacific, and you can count on us being there.
Greetings from NASA Langley's historic gantry facility,
where Neil learned to land on the moon and Orion learned how to swim.
We are with you all the way to splashdown.
Let's go fly from the Orion Human Engineering Team. Woo! Like a full moon, your future is bright. Have a safe journey from the multimedia team in Cleveland, Ohio.
We hope to see you guys back safely in San Diego, maybe singing some karaoke.
Yeah, right, maybe. He knows exactly what he wants to do. After he's like, yep, karaoke. I love that people submitted videos. You know, this is something that we actually asked as part of the broadcast. We were like, you know what, I think it'll be really fun. And the overwhelming amount of people who wanted to record something for the crew was really heartwarming.
Yeah, you know, this is the first time in over half a century that we're sending people back to the moon, and everybody is excited about it. You know, kindergarten to congressmen and all over the world, everyone is ready for today and excited to see this launch.
And so here we are again, still inside Orion with the closeout team, putting some final touches on, it looks like Victor's configuration there. Again, making sure that his harness is set and that he's connected to cooling, he's connected to communications, and he's connected to any other umbilicals that he needs to be connected to for Orion. Again, we are sharing so much information with you, and we hope you find it educational and fun. But we do know you guys still have some questions, so why don't we take another one now?
Tell us what the moon is like!
So cute. That wasn't a question. That was a demand. Nicole, you tell her what the moon is like.
Oh, man, that was so cute. Oh, man, the moon is really cool, right? So it's a lot of like gray and white and kind of shades of gray. It is something that doesn't have wind or rain or rivers or an atmosphere. And so we like to say Christina said it earlier, it's the witness plate to the universe. And, you know, it has all these impact craters because it's not protected. Things hit it all the time. Mm-hmm. Meteoroids, asteroids, all sorts of things hit the moon and create these impact craters. That's part of what we want to go and look at and learn about on the moon. It can tell us a lot about the age of the universe and the age of the moon. You know, it's 4.5 billion years old, and we can learn a lot from just looking at the regolith or the dirt that is on the moon.
Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for that answer. She was cuter, Nicole.
I agree.
And then earlier today, we wanted to ask you, what do you want to know about living in Orion? And we told you to pick between what the crew eats, how they sleep, how they fly the vehicle, and how free time is spent. And the winner, most of you wanted to know how to fly the vehicle. And we are going to be doing that.
Yes, we are. You know, that's a great question, and actually part of what we're going to go do. So the rocket is fairly automated, right? There's a countdown, and the whole system knows when it needs to ignite the engines. But we are going to do some manual piloting throughout this mission. Once they launch and they separate from the ICPS, they're actually going to do a rendezvous and proximity operations demonstration. So what does that mean? They're going to take that portion of the rocket and they're going to try to fly closely to it. And so they will actually take manual control of the Orion spacecraft and try to get nice and close to the other portion of the rocket that had just separated. And so you can see actually a little bit in the view that you have right now. So for Reed, the left-hand person. His right hand, there's a kind of a joystick, if you will, on the right side, and then on the left side there's something similar. And so they've got, translational and rotational hand controllers in order to command the rocket in different axes.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, Victor said it himself, like one thing that he's really looking forward to is piloting Orion manually. So we'll get to see that during our continuous coverage. Again, we are covering this entire mission. We started with tanking, and we will go all the way through splashdown, so you will see what Nicole was just talking about, that proximity ops demonstration, where the crew will pilot Orion manually. And so, speaking of their 10-day mission, why don't we take a closer look at the crew's home away from home for the next 10 days. Here's Megan Carter again from the KSC Visitor Complex.
All right, thanks, Megan. Yeah, it's getting real out there, so I am going to bring you back to the moon board so I can show you just a few things about the Orion. Obviously, it is going to be very compact, sitting up there on top of the SLS rocket. Very compact, like I mentioned, over 355,000 pieces. So let me show you a couple key components, starting with these three fairing panels right there. When the rocket blasts off, obviously it is going to get very fast.
MS1,
it's going to
NTD on Ryan Earth 1 for ComCheck.
Windy, and so we have these three fairing panels in place to help protect our astronauts. I am also going to take you into a little bit closer look and talk about the LAS, or the Launch Abort System. This is the one piece that is going to be in place to protect the astronauts should something happen to go wrong in the first few minutes of launch. They can actually hit those abort motors, and these can activate within milliseconds, basically faster than you can even blink, and that is going to pull the crew and the crew capsule away from any danger. Now, obviously, we hope that those are not needed, and if that is the case, then about 3.5 minutes into flight, the LAS and those fairing panels will actually activate and jettison away. They'll fall away from the rocket, because at that point, the crew can actually abort the spacecraft safely by themselves. Now, we've talked a lot about the crew capsule right here. This is where they are going to spend the duration of their flight. We're going to talk a lot more about that one in just a little bit, but for now, let me jump down here to the service module. This is the one, we're going to think of this as the powerhouse for the spacecraft. It's pretty much going to provide them with almost everything that they need for the entire mission. Temperature control, removing the carbon dioxide, providing them with oxygen, so much more. You can also do course corrections and things like that. So super quick breakdown, but as you can see, all of these components together are going to make the spacecraft one that is built not just to fly, but to protect, sustain, and bring those astronauts home. All right, lots more to come, but let's see where we are with the crew. Back over to you, Megan.
Hey, thanks so much, Megan. A lot of useful information there, and we did want to point out that you did hear over
and
the
PLT NTD on Ryan Earth 1 for ComCheck.
NTD PLT, I have you loud and clear on OE1.
And I have you the same. Welcome aboard.
And so, again, we are now hearing mission audio loops, specifically the Orion to Earth 1 loop, the communication channel for the crew. Successful comm checks by both Victor and Christina.
CDR, OTC Orion to Earth 1.
CDR.
Yes, sir. Configure ARS to suit mode per EPROC 10.1.1. Crew ingress and vehicle pre-launch config, step 1.
10.1.1 crew ingress and vehicle pre-launch config, step 1. Going in work now.
And so see, now we are privy to some of the countdown procedures that the team is asking for the crew to do.
Yeah, so they're going to work through some of these procedures and finish the ingress portion, as you heard in that procedure. So this is where the crew is going to start building their nest, if you will, running some procedures, getting the capsule ready for humans to be on board.
And now look at the clock, 3 hours, 30 minutes and counting until the opening of our 2-hour launch window, and we are pretty good on time. We are as we are expecting in terms of when ingress will be wrapping up soon. And so now let's bring Gary Jordan, again, our commentator inside of Mission Control at Houston. Gary, Let's check in with you about mission preparations.
Hey, Megan, thank you. Yes, we're following along here in Mission Control Houston.
OTC copies.
And we'll stand by for those comm checks. And again, we're waiting for those comm checks. We did confirm from our IVA officer here in Mission Control Houston that all 4 suits have plugged in umbilicals.
And CDR, NTD.
Go ahead, NTD.
Yeah, Reed, we're ready to proceed with the voice checks if you and everyone else is.
NTD, Integrity Crew is ready for voice checks.
I copy that. And Integrity for the entire crew, comm check on Orion to Earth 1.
CDR. PLT.
MS1.
MS2.
Good comm check by all. NTD moving to Orion to Earth 2.
CDR. PLT.
MS1.
MS2.
Integrity Houston on Orion to Earth 1. Voice check for the entire crew.
CDR. PLT.
MS1.
MS2.
Houston has all 4 crew loud and clear on OE1. Stand by for 2.
Your initial word was broken, Stan?
MS1.
MS2.
4 crew loud and clear on OE2. We'll use 1 for the default. Houston out.
And CDR, NTD?
CDR.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and we're going to clear a couple of those messages on your screen here. Just want to give you a heads up that you'll see that.
Copy all.
CDR, OTC, Orion, Earth 1.
CDR.
Yes, sir. Perform crew suit leak checks per 10.1.1. Crew ingress and vehicle pre-launch config, steps 2 through 4. Annunciation of LCC O-ARS-001 will occur.
10.1.1 crew ingress and vehicle pre-launch config, steps 2 through 4. Going in work now.
This is Mission Control Houston. We are following along as the 4 crew members of Artemis II work through their voice checks, then the umbilical connections and various pathways to get communications from all of the...
refresh on your screen.
CDR.
Yes, sir. We're going to look to do a quick refresh on your screen if you guys are okay with that.
Hey, firm, just let us know when we can continue in 10.1.1. We'll go hands off.
(10.1.1) referring to the procedures that they have through the various phases of ingress and some of the checkouts needed to prepare for today's launch. Here in Mission Control Houston, the IVA, or Intravehicular Activity Officer, will be confirming the leak check status and watching as the suits pressurize to once again confirm that the suits are in a good configuration ahead of launch. Of course, for the teams here in Houston, launch is just the beginning. The first flight day is jam-packed with activities. Shortly after main engine cutoff, Integrity will enter into a coast phase while still attached to the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, or ICPS, and prepare to deploy the solar arrays. With power being generated, Integrity prepares...
Go ahead, MTD.
Yeah. With that refresh, and you got to go to proceed with your 10.1.1.
Picking up 10.1.1, step 2.3 through 4.
Picking up the procedures, the crew again working through the various steps to prepare for launch, standing by for seat. This is Mission Control Houston. With visors closed, the pressurization tests can commence. We'll stand by for word of a good leak check on all 4 of the crew member suits for the Artemis II mission. Again, this is the very beginning of a very busy flight day for our 4 crew members. After launch, they have a series of burns to prepare for. The first major burn being the perigee raise maneuver that allows them to continue in low Earth orbit, and the next being the apogee raise burn that puts them in a high Earth orbit. This is an orbit that takes them around the Earth for nearly a day, 23.5 hours to be precise, and allows the teams, including the astronauts and the flight control teams, to check out critical systems ahead of committing to the next day's translunar injection. But before they even call it a day, Integrity will separate from the ICPS, and the crew will command. Command the Orion capsule to separate from the ICPS and turn around and approach the upper stage, but not dock. This is to test Orion's in-space maneuvering capabilities and provide further confidence in docking to another lunar space vehicle like the Human Landing System that will be part of the Artemis III mission ahead of future moon landings. These are just a few of the highlights of the very first of 10 flight days as we await for confirmation of good leak checks inside the capsule Integrity. And there's a lot more to this mission. A reminder that this is, of course, a test flight. The purpose here is to demonstrate procedures, systems, and life inside Orion on a mission around the moon for the first time, and give further confidence in the capabilities that are charting a return to the lunar surface. You may be able to see from this view the suits themselves inflating. This is, again, a pressure check. verifying that the suits
all right,
are
folks, you've been looking in on all the pre-checks heading up to the launch, hopefully tonight, just before 6:30 of the Artemis II. We're going to take a quick break here on Live Impact News. We'll be back in 2 minutes with more. By the way, hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm taking over for Nick Sturdivant. See you in 2 minutes with more of your stream. Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We'll be together until 4 o'clock tonight. We're checking in with a new lawsuit that we're seeing filed against South Carolina trooper out of the Midlands of South Carolina. There's a couple that says that this trooper wrongly held their family at gunpoint. So we're going to hear now as they announce this suit. You're hearing from Cartrez Rush and Jasmine Scott, and they have named the South Carolina Department of Public Safety as the defendant in this case over the incident that happened back in May of last year.
Bailey and I represent the Rush family. Right here you have Cartrez Rush, his wife Jasmine Scott, and their daughter. And we're here to announce a federal civil rights lawsuit that we filed against the Department of Public Safety, along with the officer involved in an incident that should have never happened. This goes back to May of 2025. The Rush family was doing a job. They are event planners, and they were traveling back home to Columbia. Cartrez was driving, his wife was in the passenger seat, and then his 3 children were in the car. You have his daughter and his 2 young boys. And during that time, they're minding their own business, they're driving. Eventually, we see Officer Lyman's vehicle tails them, puts the blue lights on. They're driving the speed limit, not speeding, so they had no reason to believe they're doing anything wrong. Mr. Rush eventually pulls his vehicle over. And when he pulls his vehicle over, abruptly, unexpected, guns are drawn, loud commands are yelled, and they do not know what's going on. Out of instinct, Mr. Rush tells his daughter to record because they don't know what's going to happen. There are people you can hear on video across the street from where the incident happened. They're recording as well because they see the officers with their guns drawn. Mr. Rush and his wife are commanded abruptly, loudly, aggressively, and pretty rudely to keep their hands out the window for a long time. They're sitting there. Officer Lyman, allegedly, we find out later, gets a phone call from somebody who first said on dispatch that he saw the Rush family steal some dirt bikes and a 4-wheeler, and he was trailing them. Then the story later changes that somebody told him that they saw the Rush family steal it, and Officer Lyman makes this stop based solely on that information. No independent police work, never asked for license registration, never asked him if he could search the vehicle. It simply pulls the guns out on the family. You'll hear on the video while Mr. Rush and his wife are in the blazing heat, with guns drawn on them, walking backwards to commands. They eventually are told to get on the ground on their knees, put inside the grass, while their daughter is recording and his sons are whimpering that they want their dad, they want their parents. This incident should have never happened. We intend to hold everybody fully accountable. It's important to understand that officers are still required to do police work. You can't just go off of hunches or tips, especially in the days that we have today with swatting. People are losing their lives off of false calls and fake calls. The Rush family today, as they sit here, they do not know who made this call, why the call was made. This lawsuit right now is being filed against Department of Transportation or Public Safety and Officer Lyman for excessive force, false imprisonment, unreasonable search and seizure. All this happened for no reason. Mr. Rush is sitting there being questioned eventually. They open the trunk of the U-Haul. Inside the U-Haul, there's nothing there. Outside of the supplies and things they have for their event planning business. There's nothing else there. If the officer would just went up to him, said, "Hey, sir, we got a call about this. Do you mind we search the vehicle, license, registration?" I'm sure they would have complied, but that never happened. They were never given that opportunity. And when you pull guns on people, there's no telling what could happen. I'm going to let Mr. Rush tell his story, how this felt, and I believe his daughter may speak as well. Mr. Rush will probably close things out. We'll take some questions, but we intend to hold everybody fully accountable here, and we're going to use discovery to get more information about this caller. Whoever this caller is, the public safety should have figured out and done their own investigation on this, but we intend to hold them accountable as well. You can't make false tips or fake tips and think there'll be no repercussions. They could have lost their lives physically that day, but they're still suffering from the emotional harm that happened. His kids have never had interactions with law enforcement like that at all, and that's something that sits with them today. So, Mr. Rush, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Before I speak, I want to give my daughter a chance to say something, if she would.
Good afternoon. My name is Caitlin, the girl crying in the video. And that day was scary for me because we were just going home and police officers had pulled us over, yelling, in their...
Sorry. It's okay.
They were yelling with their guns drawn on us, and I started recording because I seen things like this happen on social media before, so I wanted to record just in case something had happened. They told my parents to get out the car with their guns still drawn, and I was recording because I didn't know what was going to happen. I was scared on that day because I didn't know if my parents were going to be shot and killed. And I just want accountability on the cops, on their end, and just for them to, I just want to know why they did it. And I don't want anybody else to have to go through what we had to go through.
This is hard. Good afternoon again, everybody. My name is Cartrez Rush. I'm the father in this situation and the husband. On this day of the incident, this was the most traumatizing day of my life, literally. Police is getting behind us. We're not doing anything wrong. We're complying. I pull over to the side of the road. My first instinct is to grab my license and registration, thinking that one of the officers is going to approach my vehicle. But that's not what happened. I heard yelling, screaming in the background, and I hear my daughter saying, "Dad, they got guns pointed at us." So they eventually told us to exit the vehicle with our hands in the air. So we exit the vehicle, and we got to back up towards these police officers with guns pointed at us, not knowing what's going on, and no explanation for anything. So as I back up towards these police officers, the only thing I can think about is what if one of them shot me in front of my kids. So as me and my wife reached the police officers, they immediately put us on the ground, face down, in handcuffs. Still, we don't have an explanation of why we're being treated this way. And later on, we found out that the police got some kind of bogus call about a guy saying somebody told him, not nothing that he actually saw. Somebody told him that stolen four-wheelers were in a vehicle matching my description, and they just came in guns blazing with no questions asked on me and my family. So basically, we just want accountability for these officers' actions, and we don't want another family to go through this. And while you're looking at this video, I want you to put yourself in our situation. Imagine if that was you and your family, and they tell you to get out the vehicle, put your hands in the air, and leave your kids in the truck crying, and you got to back up to the sound of their voice, not knowing that every step you take could be your last step, and they can shoot and kill you in front of your family. So this is what me and my family got to deal with every day. Every time I crank up my truck and my little boys get in, they ask me, "Dad, please don't speed. Please put your seatbelt on. We don't want you to get pulled over and killed." My kid's first interaction with a police officer was devastating. And that's something we'll never be able to get over. Never.
The officers never apologize for what they did to the Rush family. There's no therapy or anything, services that were recommended from them to the family. And when you watch the video, you'll hear a couple of things. The officer, it appears, was trying to cover his tracks. He looks to see if he could charge them with failure to stop for blue lights. You hear a supervisor say, well, it was a curb, and he stopped as soon as he got around the curb. He was looking for a way to find a ticket, to give them a ticket when they did nothing wrong, after finding out and knowing that they chased down a bogus tip and put a family through this. And you also hear him lie. He tells somebody on the audio, he tells somebody that the description said the tag matched exactly. When you listen to the call that was given to dispatch, you hear the gentleman, whoever the gentleman is, say, "I can't make out the tag. The dually truck is pulling a U-Haul." Later, the officer says to his colleague, the tags match exactly. This is the officer who initiated the stop, Officer Lyman, and then called for backup. And then you hear him talking to other officers about what should go from there. So, countless families are going to be on the road for spring break now. And the climate has changed with swatting calls. There needs to be training. They got to know that you cannot just pull guns out arbitrarily based off a hunch and a tip, because what happens at the end of that gun is what you see this family going through today. Miss Scott is pregnant, and she's emotional, rightfully so, and she doesn't want to speak. But we'll try to answer some questions. Mr. Rush will answer some if he can. I'll answer them, but just out of respect, because this is an active lawsuit that's filed. If there's some question that we can't answer, or I simply have to answer them, we just ask for consideration from y'all on that.
Mr. Bailey, Derek Rush from WIS. I have a question for Mr. Rush and his daughter, if they would be willing to answer. Obviously, there's been conversations in past stories where police have performed traffic stops, or even law enforcement as far as the highway patrol, where they talk about community engagement and being able to talk to officers, having these kind of relationships. You were held at gunpoint in front of your children. And I ask this question genuinely: does this impact your image, your relationship, your trust in the people that are protecting and serving these streets on a day-to-day basis because something like this happened?
Absolutely. Before this event happened, like I said, police are supposed to be people that's supposed to protect us and people that we trust. Like I said, my first instinct was to grab license and registration. Once I seen the guns drawn and how the police treated us, I mean, it's sad to say it, I hate to judge a book by its cover, but I could never really look at law enforcement the same, because we just weren't treated fairly.
Yeah, I think about his sons and his daughter who saw that happen, and that's something that's going to stick with them. And law enforcement departments and a lot of departments do a great job and with community engagement, and this is an incident that sets that back with them, because they have to walk through their own lives, and they're going to grow up feeling however they feel about law enforcement based off of what they saw their father and mother go through.
Mr. Rush, once you were told that you were able to get back into your car and leave, I just want to hear, what was the first thing that maybe you all spoke about when you got back inside of the car? What was going through your head?
I mean, first of all, once they opened the U-Haul, we still was in handcuffs for a period of time before they even let us get back in our car. So, I mean, basically everybody was just in shock. I mean, on the ride home, it was quiet for a period of time because we were still trying to process it, but we really just couldn't figure out why. I mean, I don't know proper police protocol. I'm not a police officer, but I would think if you got a tip or a call, why not tell the driver, throw the keys out the window? Hey, sir, do you mind if I look in the U-Haul? I just don't believe they had to go to the extremes that they had to go to without knowing who was in the vehicle or pretty much what was going on.
One follow-up question for you, Mr. Rush, and I just want to ask it objectively. Based off of everything that you have said thus far, I think I know what the answer would be, but just looking back at everything, was there anything at all that might have led troopers to be misinterpreted and make this stop and respond this way? Was there any abnormal driving patterns or anything that would have, in looking back at it, maybe prompted this at all, or just a complete heinous act for all intents and purposes?
Let me answer that. There was absolutely nothing that warranted Mr. Rush being subject to a felony stop for some alleged dirt bikes that were taken. The whole call, if you're a good officer, you should understand, it seemed bogus. And now, if he would have just stopped them, say, hey, sir, you mind, I'm officer whatever, license registration, that's normal. The issue is the felony stop. The gun's drawn, so no, he did nothing. And the reason that's even established by the Department of Public Safety, because when it seemed like they were fishing for a reason to stop him, all officers said there was no reason to give him anything, but you had to do a contact form. No reason for a ticket, no speeding ticket, no reckless driving ticket, no failure to stop. There's no reason for him to be stopped like that.
If you had a message for the officer that pulled you over that day, what would you say to them?
Basically, in a nutshell, just do a better job. Do more due diligence. Know what's going on before you pull somebody over. I mean, you got guns drawn, you got a family of 5 with 3 minor kids in the back. Even after we exited the vehicle, they still were talking in an aggressive manner, not knowing 3 kids are in the back seat, scared for their lives. So just do a better job. I mean, maybe they need to do some more training classes and stuff like this, but I mean, this has to stop.
And Attorney, what would you like to see in terms of repercussions for the officer? Should there be any? I know, like at the 16 mark, like you were talking about.
All right, folks, once again, you were listening to a case out of Columbia, South Carolina, where a couple has filed now a federal lawsuit against a South Carolina trooper. They say this trooper wrongly held their family at gunpoint in May of last year. And as you heard them describe, they say this has caused them a lot of distress. In fact, hearing from some of their stories, they say that their kids are impacted, feeling like this was the first interaction that they've had or heard about with law enforcement, and it was a negative one. And so now the kids are super scared, too. We'll keep you updated as we get more on this case. Meantime, we'll take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes with more here on Live Impact. Of course, we're keeping an eye on the glorious weather. We'll see what that will fare like as we go on throughout the rest of the week. Also watching the pre-checks for the Artemis II launch for later tonight. So stick with us. We'll jump back in with more updates in just a bit. Folks, welcome back here to Live Impact News. It's a beautiful day. It is a lot warmer than what we've been seeing in recent days. Let's go ahead and check in with our forecast with meteorologist Majestic Storm to see what our weather impacts are for the next few days.
Well, good Wednesday afternoon. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm. We have another very nice day, sunny and warm with afternoon highs climbing back into the 80s today and tomorrow. I will say it's mainly sunny outside right now, but you will notice increasing cloud coverage as we head into the later half of the afternoon and into the evening. For your Friday, if you're making any plans, temperatures will drop into the upper 70s, but we will have more opportunity for scattered showers and an isolated thunderstorm or two, and then rain chances, they are increasing for Easter Sunday. We'll talk about that, but let's talk about the good stuff still. 77 degrees for a forecasted high yesterday. That's where we actually got to. 84 is what we're forecasting today, so we're turning up the heat, not just today, but tomorrow as well. Today's April Fools, and this forecast is not messing around. It is going to be a warm one with afternoon highs into the 80s. Notice more cloud coverage, though, and those clouds overnight will help us from getting too chilly into the overnight hour, so it stays rather mild. Even if you're up in the mountains, plan for upper 60s, low to mid 70s. 74 degrees this afternoon there in Boone, 84 in Hickory and Taylorsville, 85 as we're looking towards Maiden, and then from Gastonia to Concord, 84 with plenty of sunshine there in Albemarle, 85 from Lancaster over towards Wadesboro. Today we all get to enjoy those above average temperatures. It just feels nice. It is gorgeous. And overnight lows tonight only drop down into the 60s. So waking up tomorrow morning, you won't need a big heavy jacket. I mean, waking up into the 60s, that is setting the tone for another warm day with highs into the 80s. We're holding on to the 80s for the next 2 days. We'll drop down into the 70s on Friday, pop back into the low 80s on Saturday. Easter Sunday, we have mid 70s on the way, and then next week temperatures start to fall into the 60s. You'll notice a little bit of humidity out there. Not that summertime humidity, but there will be some moisture in the air, especially on Friday. A bit noticeable, I would say, but that's going to help trigger some scattered rain showers. Now, while the rain may be a little inconvenient for Sunday, for Easter, boy, we've been talking about how badly we need that rain, and honestly, a good washing of rain could be nice when it comes to all that pollen, all of that yellow still outside. Futurecast looks like this about 5 o'clock tonight. Most of us staying dry, about a 20% chance for an isolated shower. Tomorrow for Thursday, it is going to be beautiful. Maybe a little cloud coverage to get us started, but then plenty of sunshine and temperatures. Well, we're heading back into the 80s. Friday's the cooler day, and then we'll have some scattered shower activity as well, and a few isolated storms, mainly in the evening time hours. Saturday's going to be gorgeous, heading back into the 80s. Easter weekend, do you have plans? Maybe you're heading off to church or brunch or an Easter egg hunt. Now, Saturday is going to be great, but Sunday, we're watching this front here that is going to bring us some rain opportunity. And here's the thing, not all the models are agreeing on the time. This one's showing that it's going to hold off a little bit later. So stay close to our weather team because we're really fine-tuning the timing of that incoming rain that we know we're going to get on Sunday. Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast looks like this. It's the first day of April. We should be into the upper 60s. That would be a normal April day, but instead the next 2 days we're heading into the 80s. 84 degrees today, 83 by tomorrow. Still not a bad looking Friday. Maybe just keep the umbrella handy. Charlotte FC game on Saturday. Really nice conditions for that. A high of 81 with, again, plenty of sunshine. Easter Sunday, at least it's not cold. And hey, we need that rain. Hope you have a great day and get outside and enjoy the beautiful Wednesday we have.
All right, folks, and with that, we're going to turn to one of our big headlines tonight. That is the homicide investigation that's underway as we speak over in the plaza. This is the 6900 block of the plaza, so it's going to be northeast Charlotte generally, but close to W.T. Harris Boulevard. If you're familiar at all with the area, it's just a couple intersections before you get to the intersection with East W.T. Harris. We just got an update from CMPD with more details on what brought them to this scene and what they know. This all sparked just around the noontime hour, so let's go ahead and listen in to the latest from this officer.
Good afternoon. My name is Major Brad Koch, K-O-C-H. Shortly after noon today, detectives with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department responded out to the residence behind me in the 6900 block of the plaza. Once they were inside, they did locate an individual who was deceased. At this time, we are conducting a death investigation. Give you a little backstory. Last night, shortly after 8 o'clock, officers in the University City Division responded to a call for service about a missing person. We took that report over during the overnight hours, who we believe the victim's family came to the residence overnight. Officers came out, searched the residence at that time, did not locate the individual. Missing persons detectives came out about noon today in the daylight and did locate an individual who and he is deceased. With us right now are homicide detectives, missing persons detectives, crime scene, and North Tryon Division officers who are all working collectively on this investigation. As we move through the day, we should have a better idea of whether this is a homicide or continues to be a death investigation. But we ask anybody with information to please call Crime Stoppers at 704-334-1600. You can also call and speak directly to our homicide detective in charge of this investigation at 704-432-TIPS. Again, 704-432-TIPS. I'll answer a few questions if you have any.
So as of now, it seems like no threat to the community. Is that fair to say?
I would think so, yeah. We've located an individual deceased inside, and at that point, that's all we have right now.
For clarity, sorry, was it a wellness check that was conducted, or?
Initially, it was a missing persons call for service. Then we did a attempt to locate in the overnight hours, and then through the use of technology, we were able to determine that the victim's phone was in this vicinity, which brought officers as well as the family back out to do a more thorough search inside the residence, where we did locate him inside.
Now, I know you said there's no real threat to the community, but yesterday in Uptown there was a shooting. Earlier this morning there was another shooting. How are you all as a team really just trying to reassure the community's safety despite the amount of incidents that are happening over the past 2 days?
Yeah, anytime I speak with the media, I encourage all of our community members to work on de-escalating those situations. Do not immediately resort to gunfire. Once you pull that trigger, that has lifelong consequences. Think about it for a minute and really work to de-escalate those situations because they can have dire consequences.
And we saw the one this morning involved teenagers, I believe, a 15-year-old victim, and the one this morning. Let's talk about just some warnings to parents tonight as well for the juvenile crime aspect of this.
Yeah, that's again, similar to that. I mean, we have kids now that immediately escalate problems or situations or beefs or grievances, and they pull out firearms to settle those conflicts. Never a good idea. Anger and firearms do not mix. So,
just to clarify, when they came out with the missing persons report, they just looked around the outside of the house. They didn't go in the house at first?
Correct. And then this was our third time out here. The early overnight hours, we went inside the residence, did not locate him, did a more thorough search, and did find him.
Did the victim have any signs of foul play, any wounds or anything?
Yeah, that's why at this point, that's why it's just a death investigation. We're not exactly sure. Once crime scene gets in there and does a thorough, taking overall pictures and things like that, once we work through that investigative component, we should have a better idea of whether or not there is signs of trauma or what have you to the victim.
And just to clarify, the victim did live here or was just located here?
We don't know. We don't know who the victim is right now. We believe it's the gentleman who lives here by himself, but until we get a little bit further, a couple more hours, I'm confident our public affairs will share that information with you in a press release in terms of whether it's a homicide, who the victim is, and things like that. But all signs do indicate that it is the gentleman that resides here. Okay, thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too.
And more updates on this case coming up here on WCNC Plus, starting with our news at 4. Another break here on Live Impact. We'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're turning now to a new feed we're watching live here in the Live Impact News studio, coming to us from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, as we see an interfaith roundtable that is underway. This is happening in specifically the state reception room at the governor's residence. The governor, Josh Shapiro, along with the First Lady, are hosting interfaith leaders today on this first day of Passover, also commemorating 1 year since that arson attack on the governor's residence. And of note, the very room where they're having this roundtable was actually the same room that burned 1 year ago. Let's listen in for a bit.
Feel comfortable wearing your turban in Pennsylvania, it fills my heart. I remember we were at Diwali, I commented on how beautiful some of the folks looked in their dress, and they said, well, thanks for letting me, feel comfortable dressing like this. I've had, particularly over the last couple of years, and this happened to Laura too, the number of people who have a Jewish star wearing around their neck and maybe tuck it in a little deeper, but who will come over to me and show it to me and say, I've been scared to wear this, but knowing how you live your life and how open you are, it gives me a sense of comfort and pride in wearing it. And I never imagined that would be a role for us to play. I never imagined that was, our responsibility, if you will. But we take that very seriously. The fact that people can feel more comfortable being who they are because of how we live our lives and how we do our service, it means a lot. It's a tremendous compliment what you just said, and we take that very, very seriously.
Thank you, Governor. Also, I would like to, since you brought this Diwali, I would like to, thank you for making the state holiday. You signed the law last October.
Yeah.
And it was so
we signed it together.
Together, yeah, I was there too. I was there, and it is really, really appreciate, and it's a very great for our community too. Signing into state law it's not easy. That means you do think about other religions. You do think about others. That's all it comes from. It's not that everybody can do that, but it has to. It's not every politician will do that, or maybe you do know what you're doing and what you can think about others. That's kind of very nice of you, and really appreciate making that sign into law. That's really great.
Of course.
Great.
And look, I think it is important to know, because we should find the goodness, right, as we talked about here today. That bill only made it to my desk because a large number of Democrats and Republicans came together around that. And so that is another, for all the differences we have and all the battles we have over policies and what have you, these guys write about that stuff all the time. The reality is, on something like that, we all came together to see our shared humanity, and that's a beautiful thing. And that's a reason to feel hopeful and optimistic.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, Rabbi, I'm sorry, Bishop, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, I think Pastor Mitchell gave us our challenge. I'm going to look for ways, again, to incorporate, some of the experience of our common faith, our common humanity, into my preaching as I go around the 15 counties of my diocese. And Easter I'm still working on that homily. So, to be able to really be challenged to say, as also that certain actions or behaviors that do unfortunately characterize a lot of what happens is inconsistent with who we are as people of faith. That's a challenging word that people need to hear, and we do need to call it out when we see it.
Yeah. I want to encourage this group to find ways to keep working together. We come together oftentimes and speak out against political violence after it happens. And I so appreciate how all of you raise your voices in moments of tragedy to try and heal. We have to find ways when the seeds of political violence are being planted before the incident occurs, to find ways to work together to stop that from growing, stop that from building up in our community. And there are no easy answers here, but the one thing I know for sure is that each of you obviously have a responsibility to do that work, and I know you accept that, but each of you have incredibly powerful voices. And I want to work with you to see what we can do to heal our world here and repair our world a bit. So we've got to do that work together.
My friend Reverend Earl Harris puts it, you have to make a friend before you need a friend. And he and my predecessor, Rabbi Eric Citrin, helped create the Freedom Seder that we have to sort of celebrate Jewish and African American traditions around going from from slavery to freedom. God forbid. And just having that every year as a touch point, especially around Passover, for the whole interfaith community has meant a lot in terms of having those friendships before we have to, and that's what enabled us to come together in moments like last year.
Yeah. Thank you, Rabbi.
Just really quickly. I would like to make one, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so, I segue straight into that where it's not enough for us as leaders to model that behavior. What we've done with Road of Shalom in Philly is brought together our congregations as well. So, we had a whole series of events where us as leaders, myself and Rabbi Eli and a few others got together ourselves first, got on the same page. And then we had the Jewish and Christian communities to master the law. We talked about Ramadan and Eid, had, an iftar together, and did fellowship. So not just Muslims at the table all together, but mix everybody up a little bit, get to know each other. And then we did the same thing. We went down the Road of Shalom, my congregation, and also the Christian congregation went down the Road of Shalom, and the same thing to the Perfecting Church in South Jersey. So it's not enough for leaders to model, right? We have to bring our people together. We have to, be in community with one another, because that's when you get the chance to sit down and talk with each other, get to know each other, and then I think that's when those bonds start to come together. And it's been a good model for us, and we've been able to, see some progress. And I'll tell you, when martial law was vandalized, the first two people that were there were Rabbi Eli and Pastor Kevin Brown. Before any Muslim imams or anybody popped up, those two were there first. So,
and your congregants saw that.
Absolutely. So it's a big deal that we're there for each other in tragedy, but also just getting to know each other in just everyday, happenings and doings.
Yeah. We just had a mosque in Pike County, so sort of northeastern part of our state. Literally, someone shot it full of bullets after their iftar, and I went up there the next day or day after, and they made a similar comment. They said, the Jewish guy showed up, and maybe, some others from our own faith hadn't yet, but it's important that in those moments we stand together, but it's also important that when the seeds are being planted that lead to those moments that we are standing together, and you did the hard work in those moments before, so that Rabbi Eli and others were there for you in those moments.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Since I would like to make one quote from the Mahatma Gandhi on the religion, especially because he's a peace, father of our nation, and he's a non-violence guy. When somebody asked about the religion, he said, "Religion is truth. Religion is my God and truth, based on non-violence. Truth is my God. So there is no place for the violence." That's what he had said in one of the quote.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, Rosie's giving me the eye here, so it feels like, Rosie, do you want us to get up? Do you want us to stay here? Okay. Okay. Thank you. I just want to say before we leave the table, what I said to you in the
All
area
right,
room
folks,
before
looks
we
like this
walked
is
out.
starting to wrap up in just the next couple of moments, but you were looking there as Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro was hosting this roundtable with interfaith leaders as the start of Passover is underway, and this is also commemorating that 1-year mark since that arson attack on the governor's residence. This is actually that room that you saw where everyone was gathered. That was the exact room that burned during that incident. We'll take a break here, folks. Back in 2 minutes. Got a couple feeds we're watching, including the governor's interfaith table as well. But we've got Artemis 2 that we continue to keep an eye on. There you can see the launch pad, and we are just a couple hours away from hopefully this thing taking off, bringing 4 astronauts towards the moon for the first time in 50 years. We got some great coverage coming up for you in a little less than an hour with our chief meteorologist, Brad Panovich. So we do want to make sure that you're sticking around throughout the rest of this hour as we're going to be picking up that coverage. Probably around 4:30, leading up to the launch just before 6:30. So stay tuned. Back in 2 minutes, we'll get another check of the pre-checks leading up to the launch then. Hey folks, welcome back to Live Impact News. An exciting night ahead of us as folks are looking ahead to the Artemis II launch. Just before 6:30 this evening is when that launch is slated for. You got to look at that countdown clock there, giving us more specifics. But yes, T-minus 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 51 seconds. We've got some great coverage laid out for you as you take a live look at that launch pad. Historic mission in the sense that we haven't seen crew members being launched towards the moon in about 50 years. And we've got our chief meteorologist, Brad Panovich, who's set to join us here on WCNC Plus in probably about 40 minutes or so to get us geared up for this launch with everything we need to know about the context of this mission, what we should know about what we're watching, specifically about the technicalities, the weather, of course, because we know that can play a big role in whether this launch goes off or not. And then leading up to 6:30, he'll be with us there guiding us through as things hopefully do take off. Want to listen in on this live feed that we've been watching throughout the day as we see crew members trying to do all of those pre-checks ahead of the launch, and we've been getting some great insights into what goes into a mission like this.
And they are confident and ready to take this crew into space today. In today's pre-brief, the flight director, Judd Freeling, expressed his confidence to the team, citing the hundreds of simulations to prepare for this very moment. These are the calls you'll hear during ascent less than 3 hours from now. But now we'll turn our attention to the countdown to launch and send it back to you, Megan, at the Space Coast.
Thanks so much, Gary. Now, one of today's 4 astronauts, of course, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Let's go now to Jasmine with her next guest.
Thanks so much, Megan. Yeah, we're joining you live now from the Operations Support Building here at Kennedy, where crowds are starting to gather, and we're honored to have Lisa Campbell of the Canadian Space Agency joining us. Lisa, Jeremy Hansen is about to make history as the first Canadian to venture to the moon. What does that milestone mean for your agency?
Thanks so much, Jasmine. It's wonderful to be here. It's such a special moment, both for our astronaut colleague Jeremy Hansen, but also for Canada. We're here because of decades of public investment in space robotics, in space collaboration, and so for our country, we're very proud. He's so ready. He's been waiting for this his whole life, preparing, training, and he's a wonderful example of Canada.
Yeah, and that's a perfect way to capture Jeremy. He really has been prepping for this his whole life. This will be his first space flight. So what has it been like watching him become part of this Artemis II crew?
Well, as I mentioned to you, I've known Jeremy since 2020, and he's a colonel, a fighter pilot, a father, and he really is a very dedicated, passionate human being. So both for him to realize this goal of being an astronaut and flying, he also is hopeful that witnessing that will raise awareness about the value of a space program, of the benefits here on Earth, of exploring the universe and our place in it.
Wow, that's beautifully said. And really, this international collaboration has been going on for quite some time now. We've worked together in low Earth orbit and now going into deep space together. So why is it so important that we have these international partnerships?
It makes us stronger. We can go faster and further together. Canada is one of the original signatories of the Artemis Accords, and Canada and the United States have been partnered for more than 60 years in space.
Wow, that is phenomenal, Lisa. And this really is a team effort in many ways. We also have Jenny Gibbons.
Yes.
She'll be listening in on Capcom. What is her role going to be like?
So Dr. Jenny Gibbons has been training all along as the Canadian backup with the Prime crew. Last night, she was in the Orion capsule checking out all of the communications, making sure all of the systems test out and work perfectly. And then she will be among the first lunar Capcom, helping the astronauts navigate during their mission.
Wow, Lisa, that is so exciting. Any final words for the nation of Canada before today's mission?
Just, we are so proud, so excited, and we can't wait to welcome Jeremy home.
Fantastic. Lisa Campbell, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Of course. And with that, let's get back to NASA's Megan Cruz.
And right now,
Orion Earth 1. Go ahead. Ma'am, TBA press has been completed. Did you see any drop in pressure? And MS1, we saw just a little bit. It is just over 2,600 now. Copy. Thank you, ma'am.
again, a call out to mission specialist Christina Cook. Again, it was her responsibility to monitor the pressure on the counterbalance system that will help open the side hatch. And she did report a drop in pressure, but it seems like it's within nominal limits.
Right. They might have had a small drop, but we have a starting pressure and an ending pressure, and as long as the difference isn't too high, then we will take that. And the engineers know exactly what they're looking for in terms of that delta pressure.
And so again, that milestone on the checklist of things that have to happen before they launch today, that is complete. The crew, again, still inside comfortably as the closeout crew team work to close the side hatch. Again, a separate seal leak check, followed by a full cabin leak check, and then they will close the last abort system hatch.
Lots to do still in the White Room and marching down the countdown timeline well.
And so Bill, again, number 3 there, he is holding a silver flex hose. That hose is what will be connected to Orion in order to do that cabin leak check. So again, it does seem like we continue to march down through the milestones in this countdown. Hopefully lifting off today within our 2-hour launch window that opens at 6:24 p.m. Now, right now, people inside the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex are learning about this mission. There are great exhibits there about the rocket and Orion, and of course, our Megan Carter with the moon board.
All right.
right, Megan and Nicole, yeah, you mentioned that checklist before launch. That checklist is going to continue during the mission, as well as there are several vital objectives that we are hoping to accomplish with this mission. So we've talked about the rocket. We've talked a little bit about Orion. Obviously, during Artemis 1, we had that test flight, and there were no humans on board. That is our one big difference for this one, and we are going to have that crew this time. So what are they going to be up to during this mission? Let me tell you just a little bit. Now, for Artemis 1, like I mentioned, we were really focused on the SLS, making sure it had the power and capabilities that we needed. We were also checking out the Orion spacecraft in deep space environments, making sure that it was good to go. Now, for Artemis 2, we are going to be taking the testing for Orion to the next level by adding that human component. So those test objectives are going to start even before launch. Like you mentioned, they are out there making their way through that checklist. But these objectives are going to start now, and that includes safety. So one really great example of safety is going to be something called the egress baskets. They're out there in the spacecraft, obviously, and should a situation happen to come up, they are going to have something called the egress baskets they can get in, and those are going to zip line them essentially down to the ground within seconds to safety. Another great example of those safety procedures are going to be the LAS, or the Launch Abort System that I mentioned earlier. Just a reminder, that's the one that can pull the crew and capsule away from any danger within a few minutes of into the launch.
All right, so folks, just a little bit of a preview leading up to that 6:30 or so launch of the Artemis 2. Of course, as we mentioned, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich will be guiding you through the pre-launch, the launch itself, and what we're seeing afterwards, starting at 4:30 right here on WCNC Plus. So stay tuned. And with that, we will turn you over to our 4 o'clock news. Keep it here on WCNC Plus.